Beautiful people, what's going on? Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Happy Friday, TGIF. Appreciate you tuning in, however you're tuning in. If it's on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online, sportstalk1051.com, where you can also check out the video stream up there, too. Don't forget to subscribe. We got your Sports Talk app and your Google and Alexa home devices. Appreciate you making us a part of your start on this Friday morning before the weekends. Well, we're gonna let's have some fun today. All right, it's kind of been a little bit of a summer lull, kind of been a little bit. And, we got baseball going on, and note that Stanley Cup going to be wrapping up here a little bit. Nothing really in the football world. Let's have some dang fun today, right? Let's get at it. So, NBA draft last night. Marjan Beauchamp is your new member of the Milwaukee Bucks. First round pick last night. I thought maybe the Bucks would trade, maybe package it up for a for a veteran or something like that. Honestly, I thought there wasn't as many trades as I kind of thought there would be. I mean, there was a few, and it took a little bit. Until the Knicks around the 11th pick there, but took a little bit. But then the Bucks traded back in, got Hugo Besson, 58th overall pick too. So, but let's tell you a little bit about Marjan coming up here in just a few minutes on that Wisconsin Credit Union opening drive. That's the thing when it comes to the NBA draft. We might know a few players here or there. Might maybe it's from the tournament, the college tournament, or maybe it's a from your favorite team like Johnny Davis, who went 10th overall to the Washington Wizards last night. We'll give you a little bit of a background, though, on Marjan, the newest member of the Milwaukee Bucks. Interesting story, interesting background from that young man. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll lead that off on that Wisconsin Credit Union opening drive because, Brewers did win yesterday, so they did split the series against the Cardinals. Brandon Berg was there yesterday. He'll be popping in under an hour from now. So we'll talk to him about that. The Summer of George continues. Jason Alexander picking up his second win on the season, second win of his career. He went 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 4 earned runs. But the offense helping him out, and the bullpen shutting it down after him. Boxberger, Williams, both getting holds yesterday afternoon. Josh Hader picking up his 21st save of the season. Tyrone Taylor with another shot there too, home run. Tyrone Taylor. I've been kind of mentioning, do you go out there and get maybe look at bringing in another center fielder with Lorenzo Cain no longer with the team? Do you want a little bit more stability at that position? But let me throw it out to you guys. Would you be good if Tyrone Taylor was the quote-unquote everyday starting center fielder moving forward right now? He played right field yesterday with Davis getting another start. But you look at Tyrone Taylor. 8 home runs so far this year, 30 RBIs. His average is only at a 224. His on base is only a 272. They're down from his career regular season numbers. His OPS is a 694. But he's displaying a little bit more, a little pop, a little power with his bat this year. We had McCutcheon also collecting a couple of hits. Everybody in the lineup collected a hit except Tellez and Luis Urias. So Yelich, Adames each collecting a hit. Peterson getting a start over at third too, collecting a hit. So now it's here the division, right same spot as it was at the beginning of the week. Both Cardinals and Brewers tied at first in the NL Central, both sitting there at 40 and 32. Now the Brewers will be welcoming the Toronto Blue Jays. Hauser's going to get the starts tonight. We got Corbin Burns on the mound for Saturday. Sunday, it's still technically a TBD. We'll see if it's going to be another Chi start, another bullpen start potentially because the Brewers have the off day on Monday. Maybe they go that route. Brandon Woodruff won't be an option, but he did look fairly sharp in his second rehab start yesterday. So we can do the math. Maybe at that final game against Tampa for that 2-game series. Possibly, I would imagine, though, for sure by the Pittsburgh series that that we'll get Brandon Woodruff back with the team. But with this Brewers and Cardinals series now in the books, a series that we kind of highlighted, looked at, was looking forward to for a couple of weeks here, right? Splitting. Would you deem that as how would you deem this series? Knowing that the Brewers, they're, going through an injury spill here a little bit. No Colton Wong, missing a couple starting pitchers. How would you deem this series? A success splitting against the Cardinals? Because you look at the upcoming schedule here, we've got the next time they don't face the Cardinals at all in the month of July. They face for 3 games in August, August 12th, 13th, and 14th, the weekend series there right before, and that's on the road right before they come home to face the Dodgers in a 4-game set. You want to talk, not to get too far ahead in the schedule, but I'm just got because we got a big one up here in the studio. You got 2 games against Tampa Bay at home, then you travel to St. Louis, and then you come back home for 4 games against the Dodgers. Then you have 3 games against the Cubbies, but then you go on the road for 3 games against the Dodgers. That's going to be an interesting stretch in August right there for the Brewers. And they'll be right after the trade deadline too. But you only got 3 more games against the Cardinals in August, and then September, you've got that 2 away and 2 home. So 7 more games against the Cardinals. We're in for a hell of a race for this division, I think. And right now, how the National League standings are kind of playing out in the early parts of this season, it might be the only team that from the NL Central, you might have to win that division to get in, depending on how the NL West shakes out. I mean, you got the NL East there with the Braves and the Mets obviously at the top, but you look at the NL West with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants. So for the only way for one of these teams between the Brewers and the Cardinals to get in the postseason might have to be to win their division right now. Unless both these ball clubs go on a hell of a run here. But it's going to be quite the finish, I think. We're almost nearing the halfway mark of the regular season. The Brewers 72 games in on a 162. It's about 44.4%. So we're almost to the halfway mark of this season. We can kind of use that as another benchmark. 2 quarters in, right? Almost halftime coming up here. So we'll have plenty of baseball talk, especially since Brandon was there at the game yesterday. I want to get his thoughts on Jason Alexander. Could he be a regular fixture within this starting rotation? Maybe not this year, but for the future. What was his impressions seeing him in person? And the way that he's continuing to pitch, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's going to be one of those guys that, again, once everybody's healthy, you keep him around, and maybe he's a long relief coming out of the bullpen or just another arm in there. But we'll talk to B about that coming up a little bit later on here this morning. What else do we got on the docket here? We're going to do a little inside the training room. We'll catch up with our doctor, Dr. Austin Crow, just past 7 o'clock here this morning. We'll go do a little Feel Good Friday. You know what? I'm just going to do the Feel Good Friday right now because I saw this a couple days ago, and I've been saving it for a little bit. It's our Feel Good Friday by Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity. Shout out to Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity. But in case you didn't see this story, It was from a little bit ago, but I just saw it pop up on Twitter a couple days ago. So the Brewers National Series. Got to go back to June 11th, that Saturday, and it was at Washington, but a Wisconsin man had a heart attack at a recent Brewers national game, and two fans performed CPR to save his life. So it's he's a 58-year-old man from on Alaska. Went into cardiac arrest during the game, and two bystanders at the park rushed to his aid and performed CPR. By the time he was carted out of the stadium, he was breathing. After a stent was placed in his right coronary artery, and he spent 3 nights at the hospital. He was back in his son's apartment 5 days after his heart attack. He was on a train back home. But those two bystanders saving this man's life from on Alaska. Just I mean, obviously a scary situation, but big thanks to those bystanders. It was a 38-year-old fire department captain, Jamie Jill, and a 32-year-old emergency room nurse, Lindy Previtt, are their names. The two bystanders. So that's your Feel Good Friday story there. Those two bystanders saving this on Alaska man's life at a Brewers Nationals game. So I've been wanting to highlight that one for a couple days. So we'll probably revisit it again coming up a little bit later on, just as a reminder for a Feel Good Friday. We'll do a transition 3 coming up a little bit later on too, as we usually do on Fridays. So let's just get and who the hell else knows what we'll get into. Let's just have some fun today. Let's just get at it, right? Let's just do it wherever the conversation takes us. So, okay, let's get things rolling here this morning. Anybody pay attention to? Oh, before I get to the WWE draft, Arch Manning, the biggest, I, I'm trying to think of another high school football player that has come in with so much hype. I mean, so much like national attention, and honestly, his last name is he's a great player, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but it does help to have the last name of a Manning. Let's not kid ourselves. But Arch Manning has decided where he's going to go. He's going to Texas. He's going to Texas, and Texas right now. You look at that quarterback room. They've got remember Quinn? Is it Quinn Ewers, the kid from Texas who decided to enroll at Ohio State early, then went back to Texas and enrolled because of the NIL rule that they had in Texas, that high schoolers weren't eligible for NIL, I believe, just the broad reasoning behind it. But then he would transfer back to Texas. But yeah, so he's there, and now Arch Manning's going to Texas. I mean, Texas. If you're a Longhorn fan, you got to be just pumped and excited. But is there another? I can't think of an, and obviously with the age of social media and all that. But I mean, when was the last like high school athlete to have so much attention coming in and excitement and hype? I don't know if hype in it, maybe like LeBron. I mean, I don't know, but Arch Manning has made his decision. Just wanted to pass that along. So, but let's talk some hoops. Let's talk some Bucks, our NBA draft from last night. Johnny Davis, go number 10 overall to the Washington Wizards. I mean, it was early in the draft process and in the early mocks. That was kind of a popular pick right there. That and the Spurs, but it was the Wizards. Johnny Davis, 10th overall to the Wizards. So congratulations to Mr. Davis. Be exciting to watch his NBA career blossom. He's going to be paired up with Bradley Beal over there. And then the Bucks, well, their first round pick, Marjan. We'll do a little bit of a background on him in case you don't know a whole lot about him. But interesting story from Marjan. Almost quit basketball just a couple years ago. And from his high school, I mean, he's actually got a really interesting high school story to college and G League. It's quite an interesting background for Marjan. So we'll do a little bit of a preview on that. But in case you do know a little bit about him and you're, kind of read up on him, what do you make of the pick, Bucks fans? Do you like the pick? Do you not like the pick? I'm not big on grades the day after a draft. Say that about the NFL draft all the time. I'm not big on that. But there's one thing with the NBA draft that I always find kind of funny. I don't think I've ever seen an NBA grade, when they, after the draft's over, they grade the picks. I don't think I've ever seen an NBA version where anything's lower than a B- or a C. NFL ones, at least there's like D's and F's. I don't think I've ever seen anything lower than a C in those grades when it comes to mock drafts or the draft grades after an NBA draft. I was looking at one today, and I don't think anything was lower than a B- on some of those picks. No, just found it kind of curious. So let's get it rolling. All right. Wisconsin Credit Union leadoff coming up here. We'll chat some hoops, recapping the NBA draft, give you a little bit of a background on who the Bucks selected last night.
Dan Kasper Show will be right back after.
o'clock hour, we're going to give away some more gas from River Country Co-op. $50 in gas from River Country Co-op. So if you have not signed up yet, on our website, sportstalk1051.com, go ahead and do that right now. Just click on that Nation tab over there, okay? And if you've already signed up, but you haven't won, you don't need to sign up again. You're good. We're going through the same list. But if you want your chance to win some $50, hey, that'll help for some summer road trips, all that good stuff. Go ahead and do that. Just click on that Nation tab and enter to win. And while you're there, we got some other stuff there too. We've got where you can win some express tickets. Express winning last night. You can win a $100 Visa gift card to do a local survey on outdoor dining. I still got that fantasy football survey question up there. It's only a couple questions on there. Looking for some outdoor stories. Got the brag board, the Tilden Gun brag board, bunch of stuff on there. So I need your help. I need your help with all that stuff on there. Appreciate that. A couple texts. Got a few texts actually coming in right away. G-Man, Captain Yes's success in this series. Go Brewers. P.S. My next jersey is Johnny Davis. Yes, sir. You know what, G-Man? We might have to your jersey hookup. We might have to see if we can get a couple or something for the Casper Classic going on there. I just got a notice in my email that I'm getting something from the Green Bay Packers in the mail today for the Casper Classic. So just putting that out there. I've got that confirmation email. I'm supposed to be getting something in the mail today for the Casper Classic. So don't know what it is. Don't know what it is yet. But if you have not signed up for the Casper Classic, do so, or at least put it on your calendar. August 26th, Princeton Valley Golf Course, $90 per team. 2 sessions, 2 tee times. 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. $90 per team includes 9 holes of golf, the cart, the meal, 6 free drink tickets. Even if you're not a golfer, come on out like in the afternoon. We'll hang out for a while. Shoot the you know what. Have a little powwow, all that good stuff. All right. A couple other texts here too. Plain T. Good to hear from you again, Plain T. Bloomer Tony and myself and our boys, Tony Jr., 12U, and Tatum, 10U. Heading to Green Bay. The boys are representing the NWC Eau Claire Flag football program in NFL Packers sanctioned tournament involving multiple teams from many states. Good luck. Yes, good luck to them and all the other kids. That's a fantastic thing right there. So, man, I might have to keep that in the back of my mind if Hudson would be interested in that in a few years. Might have to keep that in the back of my mind if I find out some more info on there. Okay, so let's get things rolling here this morning on the Wisconsin Credit Union leadoff. Marjan Beauchamp is your first overall pick for the number, or I should say, first round pick. Excuse me, first round pick, 24th overall by the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Do a little bit of a background on him. Just kind of reading what scouts had to say about him. This is from CBS Sports. Here a little bit. We got he plays extremely hard, and with his athleticism and size, that can make him a real positive factor. He's going to need to figure out his jumper, but his ceiling is there. Bucks, their assistant general manager, kind of talking a little bit to the media after the pick last night, called him maybe already the second most athletic player on the team behind Giannis, which is some darn high praise right there. But yeah, one thing I'm just kind of going through some of the other comments from some of the from some of the picks here, or from Marjan, but his background here is something. Yeah, it was Milt Newton said that outside of Giannis, he might be our most athletic guy. But his background story, this is from the Seattle Times from a few days ago. So he's from the Pacific Northwest. But even in high school, he played at 4 different high schools all across. I mean, ended up his last high school was in Arizona. And so after his high school career was over with, he was heavily recruited by Washington. and most D1 powerhouses, he elected to not go to college and actually work out with former NBA trainer Frank Mastricano. And he was the first client for this Chameleon BX program, they called it, designed to get players ready for the NBA draft without attending college. And this was in the summer of 2020. And he was aiming for the 2021 draft. Then COVID hit. And this program had to shut things down. Shut it down. So Marjan returned home to Yakima in early 2021. But with COVID going on and, being in that program, he was supposed to have exposed Marjan to NBA personnel, but COVID, thwarted that thing. And he wasn't really on anybody's radar. And then Marjan ended up getting COVID as well, and just kind of reading a little bit from the Seattle Times earlier this morning. Marjan, depressed, but depressed is too strong of a term, but he was definitely having some woe is me type feelings, according to a longtime family friend. I mean, he was going on to being on some draft boards and then nothing. Nothing. So they started to look into colleges, and he ended up going to Yakima Valley College because they started to resume their season on a limited basis in March of 2021. And there, I mean, he scored 50 in one game, averaged 30.7 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, just under 5 assists over the 12-game season. And that was after not playing for a year and a half. So after that, goes the G League. Last September, he accepted an offer to play in the NBA's G League with the Ignite. And if you were watching the draft last night, you probably noticed a few players that were drafted from the NBA's G League team, Ignite. Jalen Green in the 2021 NBA draft was drafted number 2 overall. He had a couple more from this year. But Beauchamp, when he was in the G League, averaged 15.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists. And that exposure skyrocketed him back onto the mock draft boards, onto the draft boards. And now onto the Milwaukee Bucks team. He is, from a lot of the stuff that I was kind of reading late last night about him, trying to know him a little bit more, try to understand him a little bit more. What's his game? He's listed at 6'6". I've seen anywhere from like 197 to 205. It's one of those things, like everybody's got their different numbers out there. But the 6'6", being a wing type of player, the one thing I was reading is that his defense is one of his calling cards, and that there's one point that he could, give a 6'10" player some trouble, and then maybe even like a little bit later on in his career, there'd be no problem him covering a 6'2" guard. He's got that type of versatility. His wingspan is over 7 foot. But his defense was one thing that kind of jumped out to a lot of people. Rangy wing. His NBA draft profile on NBA.com said that he had significant upside as a defender. Energetic wing who had a breakout year on the defensive end with the Ignite. He plays primarily off the ball, did much of his scoring running the wings in transition and cutting actively in the half court, showing some ability to drive closeouts and find the open man on the move. He had some nice moments with the ball in his hands, but still has room to improve as a jump shooter to unlock his versatility in the offensive end. That was kind of the knock on him so far, has been his jump shot, working on his jump shot, cleaning that up. But the big thing that kind of stands out is his defense. So we'll see how he kind of works into this rotation with the Bucks, how he kind of, what's his role initially going to be. I mean, he's not going to be a starter right away. I don't know what the rotation will be like when the season starts. There's a lot to be decided on this ball team, on this ball club right now in terms of free agency, maybe even some trades. But, when it comes to the NBA draft, when it comes to these NBA players, it's all based off prospects and potential. And that's why, like, I was kind of joking about it, but like when you read the grades of these picks, you're not going to find a whole lot of stuff that is like below a B minus or a C because most of these picks are based off potential, based off the ceiling of these players. Can they, the big question is going to be, can they reach that ceiling? Can they hit that potential? Uh, Kind of looking at some player comps. Bridges was a big one that was kind of out there. Defensive analysis on this one scouting report looking like a different player than he had at points in his career. Beauchamp rebranded himself by bringing consistent effort to the defensive end. He's always had intriguing tools, but found a sense of urgency, smothering opposing ball handlers, getting in passing lanes, and guarding multiple positions. All right, let's bring some defense to that. Perimeter defense, potentially. Coming off the bench and being that defensive player. I'd be good with that. And then kind of work in and work on the offense, work on the offensive part of his game, work on that jumper. Running the floor though, transition, making cuts with Giannis. Can already kind of imagine that a little bit, right? A little bit there. Um, and as we know with the NBA, their trades get a little weird, but it's nothing really official yet. But Bucks did trade back in to the second round. They did not have a second round pick, but according to all reports out there, they did get the last pick in the draft where they selected Hugo Besson from France. He is a 21-year-old, 6'6". They list him as a point guard, but he's a shooting threat from anywhere on the court, according to this write-up on him. And he had solid catch and shoot numbers in the NBL last season. So catch and shoot. Kind of, if you want to do a little bit more of a background on him, catch and shoot, transition, that type of thing. Bring that. Bucks need that. We talked about shooters, right? Need more shooters on this ball club. But looking a little bit more at his draft profile here, score first combo guard, good size for a point guard, sneaky athlete. Better than looking at first glance. Body can fill up nicely. He has quick first step, can be either direction, good basketball IQ, flashy ball handler. His weakness is he does play small. He's a little undersized in all concepts for a shooting guard. Not an elite athlete, average wingspan. Again, we'll see how much opportunity he's going to be able to get being a second round player on an NBA championship caliber team. That's why they've got the summer leagues and all that stuff. And this roster still kind of up in the air for the Bucks. And then you got Johnny Davis. Patrick Baldwin Jr. did go to the Golden State Warriors. He was drafted in the first round, but he did go to the Golden State Warriors. It's a couple of Wisconsin kids they got over there, Golden State. Kevin Looney's over there. Remember Kevin Looney? Now they got Patrick Baldwin Jr. Did I see in the last couple of years 6 players from the state of Wisconsin have been drafted in the NBA in the first round? Let me double check if that was first. Yes, 6 first-round picks from Wisconsin in the last 3 years. Shout out to the state of Wisconsin. But Johnny Davis was always kind of mentioned as a possibility with the Wizards at number 10. Going to be going with pairing up with Bradley Beal over there. Assuming Bradley Beal's still going to be there. But that'll be an interesting combination between him and Beal. Potential running mate right there. We know we've seen Johnny Davis for a couple years now at Wisconsin. We know his weaknesses or what he's got to work on, what he does extremely well. But I'm excited to see Johnny Davis paired up with a player of the caliber of a Bradley Beal. You know, Johnny Davis is going to go to a team where he's not going to be asked to be the number one guy right away. He's not going to be asked to be the franchise right away. That's Bradley Beal. So he gets to go to, I think, a pretty good situation, learn from one of the better scorers in the National Basketball League, National Basketball Association, if you want to get it correct. But I like the situation that Johnny Davis is going in, pairing up with Bradley Beal over there. Bucks fans, what do you think of the picks? You have any thoughts on it? Maybe not. Maybe you don't care because it's the NBA. I don't know, but let me know. Okay, shoot me a text, 715-830-1912, or you can comment on the YouTube stream, or on Facebook and Twitter too. So let's take a quick break. We're going to get to some baseball talk coming up here as well. Want some predictions for this Toronto series that is set to begin tonight between the Brewers and the Blue Jays, 7:10 tonight, 3:10 tomorrow, 1:10 on Sunday before an off day on Monday. Your predictions, let me know. Was splitting between the Cardinals in this 4-game set a success, in your opinion, when you factor in everything going on with injuries and whatever you want to put into that equation? Give me your thoughts on that too. All right, quick break. We'll hit up all that and a whole bunch more after these quick words.
a little gears because my next vacation I just put in the other day is for the first couple of days of training camp, El Capitano. That's what I'm looking forward to. You know, we have the summer solace this week. The days are getting shorter, which means one thing: the football season's coming, and I cannot wait to see this team hit the field and start getting ready for 2022. And I've read an article NFL.com about Jair Alexander and how he's prepping Christian Watson in that wide receiver room. And it kind of fired me up. You know, Jair's out there shutting these guys down, making it hard to saying iron sharpens iron. And the article explains how he'll tell Watson exactly why he broke on routes, and he's giving him tips. And so Watson knows if he gets open, he ran an awesome route. So we got Jair back there, best in the league, making these kids work. So when it comes Sunday, they're not going to face anything tougher than they're facing in practice. So that kind of fired me up seeing that.
I brought it up at the end of the show yesterday, that same article, and if I kind of said if I had one question, if I go down to training camp for the first couple of days and I'm able to ask Aaron Rodgers one question, just one question, I would like to know if his approach to training camp this year is going to be different in years past, because this, C-Bomb. I mean, how many times have they brought in a young corner, and Aaron has gone after that corner a lot in training camp, throwing passes that way that he probably wouldn't throw in the regular season, but really giving those young corners, a workout and just kind of, making sure that they're ready for the regular season. Does that approach change for Aaron this training camp, knowing that he's got established corners now, but a younger receiving core? So does he change that approach and maybe try to work on the connection with the receivers a little bit more? Or does he still challenge those corners because he knows that the best way for us to win this year is going to be through our defense, so I'm going to get them prepared for this upcoming season? I'd really be curious to know what his answer would be on that.
That's a very good question. And well done, Dan. That's kind of like a cowherd take, stepping back, 10,000 feet and coming up with a good one. That's a really good question. And that'd be a tough one, because of course Rodgers doesn't want to look bad with all the cameras around, because he's going to go after Watson and Jair's going to pick his pocket. But that's a really good one. I'd like to hear him. You know what you should do? Contact your buddy Peter King and make sure that question gets there.
Well, I'm going to see if I can try to apply for some credentials for at least a couple of days in training camp. Maybe I'll get it, but I guarantee I probably won't get approved for that. So,
well, you got to work at it.
Yeah, we should get Peter back.
Buddy
on the
Bill
show.
Michaels on the horn for you.
We should get Peter back on the show sometime. You might have to Twitter pressure him. Be the PR of the program on Twitter.
Do that. You know me. I'll ping him for that.
Yeah. Well, you talk a game sometimes, but you don't follow through the game sometimes.
Come on now, Dan. You will see messages to him today.
No, I mean, what would you, I guess, what would you tell Aaron if you could tell him what to do? Would you rather have him, because I know Eric Stokes is coming into his second year, and maybe there's still a little bit of question marks surrounding Rasul Douglas. Like, okay, was that just a one-year wonder sort of thing? Or, so, I mean, if you could pick which would it do would you still go after some of those other corners like a Rasul and an Eric Stokes to make sure that they can, be a part of that great defense that we're hoping they're going to be? Or would you go a little bit easier and maybe focus on the connections with the younger wideouts? What would you prefer?
Focus on the connection of these younger wideouts. There's 1,500 yards and 120 receptions out there that have to be spread out amongst these new wide receivers. So I would really, he should be in the ear of Watson. He should be in the ear of Amari Rodgers. He should be in the ear of all these guys, giving them any tips, getting them to understand how he thinks. Because, Aaron said it. There's the playbook on paper, and then there's the playbook on Sundays, and we need these guys to know that playbook on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the other question I would ask him is that I think obviously Randall Cobb is going to play more of a leader in that room type of role. But I think, the other question I'd ask Aaron is like, what would you want Watson and Dobbs and these other younger wide receivers, even in Amari Rodgers in his second year, what's the biggest thing that they should be taking away from Randall Cobb? Because they don't have a Devontae, they don't have a Jordy, they don't have one of those guys that they can just kind of sit back and watch and practice. So what would be the thing that he would want them to take away from like a Randall Cobb? That'd be the other question I'd ask.
And that's another great question, because this team, every year Rodgers has had at least that one guy that he can fall back on, whether it be Jordy Nelson or James Jones or, Devontae Adams, obviously. The one guy that could take over, and the young guys could sit back and watch that happen. They don't have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Cobb isn't going to burn anybody's britches. He's only going to get open because he knows where to be, and Rodgers knows where to throw it. So these young guys are going to have to learn, listen, and be the ones that get open for Rodgers. So I think it's going to be a much different season than we've ever seen out of the Packers. I'm really excited for it. When's the last time we have been so excited about a defense? I haven't been excited about a defense since Reggie White back in the mid '90s. So this defense is going to be something that we're pumped up for. We got a heck of a running game. Speaking of a running game, if we've made talks about free agents. If I could pick one right now, if it's not a wide receiver, I'd go get somebody like Justin Jackson to make some depth in that wide receiver or in the running back room. But that's another story. The team's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, these young guys are going to have to contribute, and they're going to have to contribute right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, all right, dude. Hey, appreciate the phone call. I gotta cut you off because the shot clock's going to cut me off here in a minute. So have a fantastic weekend, bud.
We're good, brother. Thanks for having me, and you have a great weekend as well.
You got it. There you go. There's C-Bomb hopping off here. So I got a couple texts here. Head up to Bayfield and Apostle Islands, Bay Beach in Green Bay. Taking Hudson to his first game in August. I'm trying to convince him to spend the night over there. I did try to convince him with Bay Beach to go over there too, but he doesn't know if he wants to spend the night. So it might be a long day of traveling and game time and all that stuff. So, but hey, keep these coming. I'm looking for some stuff. Looking for some ideas. All right. Coming up next hour, we're going to kick it off with a little inside the training room. Want to get Dr. Crow's thoughts on the latest updates of Freddie Peralta. Then after that, Brandon will be on all the way through the finish line. We'll talk some Brewers. What kind of stood out to him from the game yesterday? His thoughts on Jason Alexander. Take a look at that, and then take a look at the series against the Toronto Blue Jays. One in already. Let's have some fun in these next couple hours, all right? Send us some random stuff if you want. One in, two more to go. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk, 105.1, 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Good morning. Here's what we're learning today. We'll start in the courts in Barron County. A gavel drop and 15 years in prison in a murder case there. A judge yesterday sentenced 22-year-old Clayton Lauritsen to a decade and a half in a December 2020 shooting. They say that he shot and killed a man who was chasing his roommate. Lauritsen had pleaded guilty earlier this year. In other headlines, a sex offender who was on the run from Pepin County was apprehended in Eau Claire. Now, this all happened overnight. Pepin County Sheriff's Office reporting that a registered sex offender, Alan Owens, tampered with GPS and a monitoring bracelet and was missing. Deputies had info that he may have checked into the Days Inn Motel on Truex Lane in the town of Union. He was taken into custody a bit before 11 last night, medically cleared at a local hospital, and then transferred to the Eau Claire jail. Oh, no shortage of political action here in Wisconsin, so we check in at the Capitol. Former State Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman testified yesterday about how he was unable to produce some records in an open records case against Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. This was in Dane County Court. Gableman said some emails are just permanently deleted.
And a Yahoo account is a free account, correct?
Yes.
So if you just stop using it, you still have access to use it.
No, the account was deleted.
And who deleted the account?
Someone who was helping me in my office.
Gableman faces a contempt ruling in a separate open records case against his office, which is overseeing Voss's investigation into Wisconsin's 2020 election. Well, in other headlines, Stephen Avery has changed prisons. Yeah, the state's Department of Corrections this week said Avery had been moved to a medium security facility at Fox Lake. Now, he was at that maximum security prison in Waupun. Avery, of course, serving a life sentence for the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbeck. He's maintained his innocence in that case. His lawyer did say in April they plan to file a new appeal soon. Well, there are goals for the coals. As We Energies backs away from one of its green energy goals, and the utility yesterday said it's going to keep its coal-fired power plant in Oak Creek open for another couple of years to ensure a reliable electric supply. Now, the plant was set to begin to close next year. Now, it'll run in some capacity until 2025. Alliant Energy does serve central Wisconsin. Yesterday, they say they're delaying the closure of the coal-fired plants in Sheboygan and Portage as well for the same reasons. And of course, you're probably talking about that NBA draft a little bit with a local lacrosse connection. Time for Kasper to add some Washington Wizards jersey to the lineup. And now we dribble down the court instead to see a Florida Republican congresswoman throwing down the smack, challenging the Vice President Kamala Harris in basketball. She saw some viral video of Harris missing some shots and had this to say.
I challenge her to a one-on-one. Maybe we can put some policy on the line. Maybe, you know what, if I win, they go secure the borders. Or, you know what, even better, if I win, she has to go to the borders.
Exactly what Kasper said to me. He was running up and down the hall saying,
I challenge her to a one-on-one. Maybe we can put some policy on the line.
beating his chest. For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
We'll see intervals of clouds and sun throughout the morning and into the afternoon today, with a chance at a few scattered showers and storms. Otherwise, temperatures making a run for the upper 80s and low 90s before more clouds move in tonight, and that'll give way to better chances for showers and storms, which could linger into early tomorrow morning before becoming more scattered in the afternoon, with highs making a run only for the low 80s before we start to dry out tomorrow night and lows in the upper 50s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike Dandria.
This is the last weekend for June dairy breakfasts around the area, and there's still a bunch, so let's tell you about them as we get to our farm and food news this morning on Sports Talk 105.1. Tomorrow morning, the Buffalo County breakfast will run from 7 until 11 at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Mondovi, and Auburndale will have their breakfast from 8 until noon Saturday at the Auburndale Fire and Rescue Facility. Also on Saturday, there will be a breakfast in the Owen-Withee area from 7 until noon at the Black River Apple Orchard. Sunday breakfast will be in Greenwood at Olson Sunrise Dairy from 7 until 1. The Gums Farm will host the Colby Dairy Breakfast Sunday from 7 until noon. The Juneau County breakfast will be at the Elroy Fairgrounds from 7 until 11. And the Marathon County breakfast will be at the Philip Walters Farm on Sunday, with breakfast served from 8 until 12:30. No reason to go hungry this weekend. Well, the Russian attacks in Ukraine are starting to hit closer to home this week. The Russians bombed two large North American-owned grain terminals in the port city of Mykolaiv. One of the facilities is owned by a Canadian company, Viterra, but the other was an American-owned terminal operated by the Bungie Corporation. That facility has been closed since the beginning of the Russian attacks, though. Officials say only one person was hurt in both attacks. Speculation is that the attacks were in retaliation for a Ukrainian drone crashing into a Russian gas and oil refinery earlier, setting that facility on fire. And if you grow corn and want to compete with top corn growers around the country, time is running out to enter this year's National Corn Growers National Yield Contest. Entries are due next Thursday on June 30th. Last year's champion corn grower was David Hula of Virginia with yields of 602 bushels an acre. Yes, 602. That's a look at farm news and Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Bob O'Sold.
The VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where breakfast is served 7 days a week, 7 to 11 a.m. Make sure to come on Wednesdays for great specials on burgers and wings. And if you're looking for a Friday fish fry, look no further. Try the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. After the Friday fish fry, stay for karaoke from 9 to 1 a.m. Sundays from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m., the DJ plays your favorite oldies hits. VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where no one does more for veterans and their community.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like, yeah. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like, yeah. Here comes the.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Passion?
I live and breathe sports. It's my life. It's also a problem.
Dedication?
You deserve the best of the best. That's why I grind it out every day to give you the best show possible.
Knowledge?
Cover 2 defense should not have been played in that situation. Stack the box, put 8 guys up there, and dare them to throw it.
Entertaining?
They pay me a little bit to talk, but the swagger, I give them for free.
I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Wisconsin's premier sports talk, The Dan Kasper Show.
Yeah, baby.
Now, let's get it on. The Dan Kasper Show is on air right now.
What time is it?
Dan. Here's your guy, Dan Kasper.
So light 'em up.
All right, second hour kicking off here this morning on the DK Show. Appreciate you tuning in, however you're tuning in on this Feel Good Friday. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Brandon Berg, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed from his trip down to Milwaukee, checking out the Brewers game yesterday. Want to get his thoughts on Mr. George Costanza, Jason Alexander, who picked up his second win of the season, second win of his career too. So we'll take a look at, or we'll talk about that with him a little bit. And of course, Bucks fans, give us your thoughts on the picks from last night. If you have any thoughts on it, hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912. But we kick off this morning talking with our buddy, Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Excellent.
That a boy. Hey, we're going to start off with a little bit of Brewers chat. So we knew Freddie Peralta had a shoulder strain, they called it. But the other day, David Stern says, and if I mispronounce this, I apologize. Is it a teres major strain?
Teres, yep.
Teres major strain.
Close.
So what exactly is that?
So teres major is one of the muscles around the shoulder. So it basically kind of connects the upper part of the body to the shoulder. So it's one of the big stabilizing muscles and kind of helps control, movement of the shoulder. So it's one of those, muscles that like a lot of the other ones, it kind of contributes to rotation. And certainly with any athlete that's going to be using their arm, and certainly baseball falls in that category, that's going to be an issue for an injury like that. Is going to be something probably that would affect throwing, swinging, pretty much most of those motions. So it runs kind of right next to the lat. So if you think of that muscle on your side, the big lat, it's not the same one, but it runs in kind of parallel to it. It's a smaller one, but if it's injured, certainly can cause problems.
So, I mean, they're talking like he could, miss a big chunk of the season. They're hopeful that he'll get a couple starts in before the postseason. Why is it such for a strain, muscle strain in the shoulder? Why is it such a long recovery process for Freddie Peralta to come back from that?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the severity of the musculotendinous injury. So, we touched on this in the past, but really what it usually is where the kind of the meaty part of the muscle joins with the hard tendon, if you will. That interface is usually the weak spot. So when they're injured, that's usually what it is. Now, because if it tore the tendon, likely they'd have surgically repaired it. So if it's an injury to that muscle tendon junction, it can be a mild one. So just like people can just kind of quote unquote tweak a hammy, or you can really significantly tear it. And I'm certain he's had MRIs that have kind of monitored this. And if it's a significant injury, it takes a long time for that to heal. And often it heals in with a lot of scar tissue, and that can lead to stiffness or risk of re-injury. So they're going to work it and make sure it's really healed, because again, that's an important thing with throwing a ball. And so that's going to be critical for them to monitor.
Speaking of Brewers pitchers, Aaron Ashby is put on the 15-day IL. He had left his prior start with some forearm tightness, but he thought he was good. He tried to convince the coach to counsel to stay in, and then they gave him a throwing session, and he had issues throwing a slider, and they're calling it forearm tightness. So does that kind of tell you anything? He feels good, but then he starts throwing a slider. He's got a forearm tightness or forearm inflammation. Does that tell you what area it could be in that forearm?
Usually that's going to be the flexors. So if you kind of flex your own fist, you see the muscles that ball up on the inner part. Those are the ones that flex the wrist and fingers down. And so anytime you're throwing a breaking pitch, there is certainly more stress that comes through the forearm and elbow. That's just how you're putting spin on the ball, right? So my suspicion is going to be one of the flexors. So I mean, the real layman's term for that would be potentially just tennis elbow, so inflammation on the inner part. Now that's at the tendon. You can certainly have in the muscles as well. If they're being vague about it, it's hard to say which one, but we do see that in throwing athletes where they'll get that irritation of that flexor pronator origin, which is again that kind of inner knob on your elbow. And so that would be my suspicion based on what the story is.
Mookie Betts, sticking with baseball, he's out with a cracked rib. When we hear cracked ribs quite a bit, like with football and such, but with the collision and with baseball. So for cracked rib, I think we've talked about it, that vest, that Kevlar vest that they can put on sometimes. Yep. But for baseball, I mean, I can't imagine an outfielder doing that and trying to swing. Would you think that a recovery time for a cracked rib for a baseball player might be a little bit longer to get back on the field of play?
I certainly think so. I mean, if you look at every sport has different demands in the body, but one of the things about baseball is there's a lot of rotation. So whether you're twisting for throwing or twisting for swinging a bat, and a lot of that comes through the abdominal obliques, and those muscles run up into and insert around and on the rib cage. And so I would imagine it'd be much more painful. That being said, it won't be any more dangerous per se. In fact, I mean, obviously collisions in baseball are infrequent, not unheard of course, but infrequent. So, I mean, I think it's really going to be gauged on how his pain level is. And the other thing as well is the number of ribs involved. So if it's a single rib, that means he has an intact rib above and below, so it kind of splinted. When you start getting segmentals where you have, 2, 3, 4 ribs in a row that are cracked, those are much more painful and much more unstable. So from what I understand, I think it's just one. So it hopefully isn't too long of a time period. But yeah, baseball puts forces on the rib cage that maybe some other sports don't.
Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us for a little inside the training room. Football, the other day, Jalen Ramsey, the corner for the Rams, had posted on social media that he had shoulder surgery, and then Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network actually said that he played with tears in both his shoulders during the 2021 season. How is that possible, first, to play with a tear in each shoulder in 2021? I mean, when you hear that and he's able to play, can you kind of get an idea maybe what area of the shoulder he might have torn or anything like that?
Yeah. That's almost certainly a labral tear. When you talk about tears in the shoulder, really, I mean, it can be a number of different things. So the soft tissue structure on the shoulder that can be torn. The two ones by far are labrum and rotator cuff. If he had a rotator cuff tear, certainly at his age, that's very uncommon. So we really don't see that very often in young athletes. So it's much, much more likely to be a labral tear. And that is a very common injury we see in football players. And there's different areas on the labrum that can be torn. So you have your superior, your anterior, and your posterior. The anterior and posterior are stabilizers. So those allow the shoulder, if they're torn, to kind of sublux or dislocate. If you're dislocating, I mean, number one, that's very obvious. When the player's going to come off the field, have to have their shoulder pop back in. Those are ones that people tend to get fixed a little bit sooner. Posterior and superior, not necessarily, because you don't have instability with superior. That's the insertion for the biceps. So that's going to be more of a pain driver. So it depends on where the tear was. But yeah, I mean, we do see actually a lot of football players play through labral tears. So I'm not saying it's not impressive. It is impressive he's able to play through, but we do see it pretty commonly. For example, I remember I did my fellowship at the University of Virginia. Basically the day the football season ended, we had like 4 different or 5 different players get labral repairs like that day, because they're able to just kind of push through it, and then when the season's over, they get it fixed up. And the good news is success rate for that surgery is very high. A lot of times they're going to get back to close to, if not all the way back to where they were before. So I don't know if his other shoulder's going to be treated surgically as well. It depends on the dominant arm and where the tear is, but that's almost certainly what it was.
So you mentioned, kind of shortly after the season, this is June. Why do you think it took a while for him to decide to get surgery on that?
That is a great question. And we do see that sometimes with these athletes. I think the answer is that they're trying to rehab it, because not all tears need to be fixed. So, if someone comes into my office with an injury, whether it's sports related or not, and they have a labral tear, generally speaking, we're not rushing them back to the OR. I mean, there's some exceptions where people who are just like recurrently dislocating with normal daily activities, like they just have to be fixed. But people are having instability with certain events, or maybe not even fully dislocating, just pain. There are times where you can rehab it, and sometimes the muscles around the shoulder are able to impart enough stability where the labral tear is no longer symptomatic. So it'll still be there, but just won't be symptomatic. So I think that's probably the guess. I mean, the flip side is if he had tears and they were symptomatic last year, it certainly would stand to reason they were going to be symptomatic this year. So when you see these athletes get these later surgeries, it does leave you scratching your head a little bit. Michael Thomas did that with his ankle last season as well, where he rehabbed it and then had surgery right before training camp. And a lot of people are saying, what's going on with that? It does make you wonder here as well, because there's no question it's going to affect part of the season if he had a full labral repair, mind you. But obviously, I don't think they fully disclosed what his surgery was.
Is there a benefit to not having that surgery and rehabbing it? I mean, obviously, you don't have to have that surgery and recovery time, but is there an actual long-term benefit to not have the surgery and try to rehab it?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's so multifactorial, but first off, anytime you can avoid surgery, it's a good thing, right? So when we have an athlete come in, if there's a way we think we can get them through the injury safely, we always avoid surgery. That being said, if they have a symptomatic hair that has instability, man, you are rolling the dice, because if you rehab and it's good enough, they're always one injury away from it coming back. So the success rate for labral repairs are very high. So with some of these athletes, you'd certainly counsel them, like, look, in some ways, the more predictable option is going to be to do surgery, because the odds of stabilizing the shoulder, getting you back to doing everything without problems is higher. But surgery is not without risks. Some people have complications. Some people don't get, the 100% recovery. So there's always that kind of concern. And of course, people just don't like the idea of surgery, which no one does, right? I don't get people walking into my clinic saying, hooray, I get surgery, right? It's usually bad news. But sometimes it's a problem that's the answer, and that's the route you have to take.
And that kind of just, when I was asked that question, I was thinking of Nakobe Dean, the linebacker from Georgia, in this recent draft. He was supposed to be a first-round pick. And they found out he decided he was injured, but decided not to have surgery, and he fell all the way down to the third round to the Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where there is, and that happens. You'll counsel a patient or an athlete and say, look, surgery makes no sense. And they say no. And it's like, all right, then we work with them and do our best to get them back to where they were before. But there is always that concern, because, I mean, generally speaking, when we operate on things, it's because of a structural problem. Not always, but usually. And so if there's a structural issue and you don't fix it, that means when you're done, you may be compensated, but you still have that structural issue. And so that's always a concern. Certainly when you're looking at pro athletes, the stress and things they do to their body, it's just, unparalleled. So yeah, I think that's going to certainly, in an athlete like that, or in any of these other circumstances where you have people that, opt to have surgery or not. I mean, that's always a difficult decision.
He's Dr. Crow inside the training room from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Appreciate the time as always, Austin. You have yourself a fantastic weekend, bud. Great catching up with you, sir.
Yep, take care.
You got it. There you go. There's Dr. Crow. Good stuff as always. All right, let's take a quick break. And then Brandon Berg popping up. What did he think of the summer of George yesterday firsthand? Jason Alexander picking up his second win. Could he be a long-term fixture in this rotation? We'll ask Brandon that coming up in just a couple minutes.
You're listening to The Dan Kasper Show.
All right, let's just jump right into it. Brewers splitting the series against the Redbirds yesterday, St. Louis Cardinals. So where we began the week with the Cardinals and the Brewers tied for first in the division, we end the week, well, kind of, sort of, but we end the week with the same exact position. Both Brewers and Cardinals tied for first in the NL Central. Bring in our good buddy, Mr. Brandon Berg, who's in studio, back from checking out the game himself in person. So first things first, Brandon, Jason Alexander, you saw him in person yesterday. Is this a pitcher that could have a long-term future in the rotation for the Brewers? And what's did anything stand out to you watching him in person yesterday? I mean, he's 2-0, got a little over a 3 ERA. What were your thoughts on him?
I think seeing him in person, you just kind of see what you see otherwise, where he's very much a pitch to contact guy.
Mhm.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Brett Anderson.
Oh, man, that's a good, yeah.
As far as a guy that's not going to throw very hard, but a guy that's usually going to pour in strikes and is going to depend on the defense to make outs behind him.
Mhm.
And that's a guy that can pitch deep into games. I mean, we saw in his first start. I mean, he went 7 innings in his first major league appearance.
Right.
So, with the depth they have, it may not be a given that he is, but it's a good spot to be in where that's a guy you can call on if you need to.
Mhm.
And who knows, once, it's going to be a bit before the Brewers are hopefully back to full strength. Brandon Woodruff had a good rehab appearance last night with the Timber Rattlers. Freddie Peralta's still a ways away. So we don't know, Aaron Ashby, if that's, how long he'd be out. So, it does seem like for the foreseeable future, Alexander will probably have a spot in the rotation somewhere.
Mhm.
But, that's kind of one of those, we'll cross that bridge when we get there things, but it's a good problem to have.
Is he similar a little bit to Adrian Hauser too, with the pitch to contact sort of thing?
A little bit. I think Hauser throws harder.
Okay.
He's got that sinker he throws is, can hit mid-90s, and Alexander's, a few ticks slower than that when it comes to velocity. But, it seems like he's able to throw other pitches for strikes too. And for Hauser, that's always what it comes down to. The sinker's going to be good, but it's a matter of throwing, curveballs and sliders for strikes to help him with lefties. And Alexander has been able to do that a little more, but yeah, he just doesn't throw quite as hard. That's why I made the comparison to Brett Anderson a little bit, because he's not, Brett Anderson wasn't the hard thrower, but he pitched a long time in the big leagues because he could minimize hard contact.
Mhm. So would he be a liable option to come out of the pen then for like long relief
Could be.
type of roles?
Sure. Yeah. That would definitely be.
Kind of following a similar suit to a lot of these Brewer starters kind of began their careers, right? Brandon Woodruff was a spot starter here. Corbin.
Yeah.
Hauser.
Yeah. And just in general, that can be a valuable thing to have where, for both good and bad, if you have a start where, it kind of blows up on the starter, you can have a guy that comes in and give you 3-4 innings. Or if you, happen to get a game where you're up, your starter goes 6 and you're up 7-1 or something like that.
Mhm.
You have a guy that can just come in and pitch the rest of the way. Aaron Ashby picked up a 3-inning save earlier on this year.
Right. And it's another pitcher who's kind of been spot start, bullpen sort of thing. It seems like that's kind of almost a Brewer's way.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other teams probably do the same thing.
Yeah, but
still,
you kind of get your feet wet as a reliever.
Jimmy Nelson, I think, did the same thing a little bit there too.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So, anything else kind of stand out to you from the game? Anybody, any player, anything like that? How was the crowd for a Wednesday or Thursday day game?
It was good. I mean, it was good.
Cardinals Brewers.
There was a lot of Cardinals fans.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was a good crowd. Sounded like there was good crowds all week, and I think now's the time where you'll kind of start to see those crowds tick up a little bit with it being the summer and people being able to get out and want to get out and taking the game this weekend 3 with the Blue Jays. So
a team that we usually don't see a whole lot.
Exactly.
Of,
So a chance to see
Vlad Guerrero,
just a good Blue Jays team come to town.
Mm-hmm.
I think there'll be good crowds there. But yeah, it's that time where stuff's starting to pick up, and yeah, I think you're going to start to see more people out of games. But no, it was fun. It always is.
When it comes to the news last week, and I know you and Richie talked about it on the Extra BP podcast with Lo Kane.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I look at it now. Is there an opening at center field for either the Brewers to acquire somebody? Tyrone Taylor hit another dinger yesterday. Would you be okay if he got the majority of starts? I know Davis they brought up. He played yesterday, got another hit. I mean, when you look at that center field now, what would be the ideal thing for you as a fan that you would like to see the Brewers do at that spot?
I'm fine with them rolling with those two guys for the time being.
Davis and Taylor?
Yeah, Davis and Taylor. this is the opportunity for Tyrone Taylor to kind of, take foothold, and for Jonathan Davis too to kind of make a spot on a big league roster and probably keep it if he.
Because he does have major league
He
experience.
does have some, not a lot, but yeah, he's kind of bopped around a little bit, and it's only been a couple starts since he got called up, but I have liked what I've seen as far as he's got hits in both those games. At the plate he doesn't look overmatched. Sometimes for a guy that's kind of bopping back and forth from the big leagues to the minors, you kind of look like maybe you're just a tick off when it comes to your swing, but no, he's he work counts. He's a good defensive center fielder, so those are options. But yeah, I think that if those guys are unable to kind of take ownership of that spot, it's possible. I mean, remember last year that the Brewers were actually talking with the Pirates at the trade deadline about Brian Reynolds, and that the asking price for Reynolds by the Pirates, rightfully so, was very high. And now we don't know how the Pirates may be looking as far as buying or selling, or I mean, probably won't be buying, but how much they may want to sell with some of their people kind of getting to the big leagues now. They may want to kind of hold on to Brian Reynolds now. If they don't, I mean, he got off to a slow start, but he's picked up. I mean, that might be kind of one of those ideas, but it would cost a lot to get him. He's a very good player.
Pirates fans got to be excited because of the shortstop, who is just a
O'Neal Cruz. Yeah,
yeah.
you don't see many 6'7" shortstops, but ones that also have an arm like that. Like he's
if I'm playing
he's
first,
legit,
I'm like, okay, make sure the cup's in for him.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in his first game, he had the hardest throw?
Yeah,
infield throw was like 95 miles an hour, something crazy like that.
Wasn't even like overhand. It was
no, it was just kind of like in
sidearm.
Yeah.
Ooh, dude was like, oh man.
Yeah, and the Brewers will be seeing the Pirates coming up here in a little bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tyrone Taylor. I mean, he's shown power. He's got 8 home runs. He's had some big hits. Inconsistency, but I think you could describe inconsistency as
a lot of people. Yeah, that's not like that's just limited to him.
Right. It's everybody on that Brewers offense. It kind of seems like at this point. So, but I think this is an opportunity for Taylor. I know he played right field yesterday with Davis in center, but
yeah,
he can play every spot in the outfield. But this is an opportunity for him to get more playing time in center.
Yeah,
field.
this will be probably the biggest opportunity he's had to play every day. And yeah, it'll be fun.
He's flashed a glove. I mean, he made a play yesterday with it. Was it Pujols at the end of the game?
Yeah, he kind of had to go back and make a play over his head. But yeah, this will be the opportunity if he's gonna if he wants to kind of take control of that job and make the Brewers say, oh no, we gotta make sure this guy keeps getting every day at bats. This is his chance.
Now, we were talking a little bit about it yesterday with this Brewers team, and obviously a lot of people have some concerns and questions about it, but how much do you kind of like give them a little bit of a pass or a little bit of a break because of the injuries they're going through? They've missing 2 starters in their rotation. Colton Wong has been dinged up. Other guys have been dinged up here or there. Is that a big reason, you look at the month of June, they've had to play the Padres, they've played the Mets, Cardinals, now Toronto, and Tampa Bay after that. I mean, how much do you kind of factor in some of the injuries that they've been going through with this?
I think it's a factor. I wouldn't say I'd necessarily give you the full give them the full pass for it, because you still, you have to be able to win. And remember, last year the Brewers were able to do that with some injuries. Now there weren't really any long-term injuries. There weren't people missing 3-4 months.
Right.
But you had times where different people were out of the lineup. Be it the COVID list or other things. So, keeping the head above water. I mean, you can't win the division the first 2 or 3 months of the season, but you can certainly lose it. And with an 8-game losing streak mixed in there, but yet here we are getting to the last week of the month and they're tied for first. I mean, given how rough it went the first half of the month, I think you feel all right with the spot they're in. You mentioned the inconsistency on offense. That's, right now that's kind of the big thing, which is, I mean, that's not a surprise. Coming into the year, that was everything everyone talked about as far as, okay, what could be the Achilles heel of this team? It's, well, you need the offense to be more consistent. So, there's going to be another month or so, maybe, for them to kind of figure out, okay, what do we got offensively? What do we like? What do we need to improve on? That kind of stuff.
Right. The other question I kind of had too is, we talk about beating teams that are over 500. The Brewers have beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat, and you want them to beat 500 teams. But I was looking at it yesterday, Brandon. You look at a lot of these teams, and yes, I mean, the Yankees are just in a different stratosphere right now. What they're doing is just ridiculous. But you look at the other teams that are kind of leading their division, if they're beating teams over 500, the majority of them are either like right at 500 or they're a game or even below, 500. Does that get overplayed a little bit too much when we look at teams and their records and you're like, well, how do they do it against teams over 500? Does that get overplayed a little bit in your opinion? Because
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Because generally you're not going to see like a team that's, wins 90 games and is, 20 games over 500 against, good teams, and then probably struggles against below average teams. Generally, if you're a good team, you beat the teams you should, you do all right against the other teams.
Yeah, because I was looking at, I mean, again, Yankees, might as well just take them out of the
Yeah,
equation.
they're the exception to the rule right now.
Because Cleveland, they're 10-14 against 500. Minnesota, 12-15, the two teams leading the AL Central. The AL West, I mean, even the Astros, they've only played 18 games against teams over 500. They're 10-8.
Yeah.
The Mets, again, kind of with the Yankees, are 25-17.
Yeah.
But the Braves are 15-15. Milwaukee's 15-20. The Cardinals 17-20. Even the Dodgers just one game over 500, 14-13. Padres 18-17. San Francisco 18-18.
Yeah. So it's not like there's this gigantic, cavern of, well, these teams are, outside of the Mets and the Yankees right now, that do that.
Right. So I know everybody kind of brings that up and we bring it up, but then I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, well, take away the two New York teams who are
and it's not really, it's not really super common.
Right. So, all right, with this Blue Jay series coming up here, we know that everybody's going to be paying attention to Vlad Guerrero Jr. That's everybody's kind of.
He's been scuffling a little bit still. He's a young superstar in the sport.
Right. We get on the mound tonight is Adrian Hauser, but he's going up against, is it Manoah?
Yep.
Who's 8-2.
Very good.
Very good pitcher. Corbin Burns is tomorrow there. Obviously not a ton of experience between these two lineups because, well, AL, NL, we got a few people or a few players that have gone up against some of these, but again, not a whole lot. So, I mean, it's an uncommon, can we say uncommon opponent with this?
Yeah. And
I know it's a football term sort of thing, but, interleague action here. So, obviously, when we think about this Blue Jays team, we think about offense and the power, but should we pay attention a little bit to what they bring on the pitching side of things with the Blue Jays too?
Sure. You mentioned Manoah's a good pitcher. Sunday, a guy that's a little familiar, Jose Barrios, who pitched for the Twins. So,
and that's a TBD for the Brewers. That might be Chichi. I always want to say Chichi Rodriguez, but it's Gonzalez.
And the first thing I always thought of too was the old Mexican restaurant Chichi's.
Yes, that too.
Remember hearing those ads when I was a kid.
Yep. Oh yeah. So you look at. That's an unknown. It's a TBD, but it could be a bullpen because they have the off day.
Yeah, they have the off day, and then so they might use that. But
does it kind of depend on the game tonight? You think?
I think so. I mean, let's put it this way: if tonight and then tomorrow, if Corbin Burns goes out tomorrow and throws another 7 innings, then maybe you feel a little bit better about kind of spacing it out.
Especially if you win your first 2, then maybe you kind of
almost feel like you're playing in house money a little bit.
Right. So when you look at this series, what's the biggest challenge you think that the Brewers have against the Blue Jays?
I'm gonna say trying to navigate through the lineup for the Blue Jays lineup, because even with Vlad Guerrero, I mean they're still a very good lineup.
I mean they were a popular preseason pick to go to the World Series.
Yes.
So obviously they are a very talented, maybe not playing to the level that we kind of thought, but it gets overshadowed a little bit with the Yankees too in their division.
But they're very talented. Alexander Kirk, I think, is leading the AL voting as far as catchers go. I mean, he's had a very good year. They've got some. They're a team that's very much loaded with players we watched when we were younger. Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
Don't forget they got George Springer.
Yeah.
He's a very good player. Like they're.
I forgot about Biggio. Yes, that is Craig's son.
Yeah.
Craig's son over there.
So they're gonna have to. I think they're gonna have to come ready to swing the bats, because I think. The Blue Jays have the ability to put up some runs.
And they playing in a park that's pretty good for hitting dingers, too.
Yes.
Could you see a high-scoring series in this?
I could see maybe tonight or Sunday. Even with, I guess, the Blue Jays, probably have the pitching advantage there. But, Saturday, you feel pretty good about, what Corbin Burns can do, especially coming off. So, it's I could see I could see a slugfest mix in there.
Man, so Corbin Burns. I know when you look at his 5-4 and 2.31, but I mean, does he? I know he won a Cy Young, Brandon, but I still feel like maybe he doesn't get talked about as one of the better pitchers in the league. Is that just me playing homerism? Is that just me being too dramatic, like playing the Fred Taylor no respect card? Anybody knows that deal? Yeah. I just still, you always hear the Max Scherzer still, the Verlanders, those guys are reigning Cy Young, but I still feel like he doesn't get talked about as much.
I think the best thing he can do is just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Those are guys that have done it for years and years and years. So, if he comes out and, keeps doing what he's doing and has another year like this, and he's, even if he doesn't win the Cy Young, if he's top 3, top 4, I think then you just keep stacking. You keep stacking evidence. And if you keep stacking evidence, eventually it's really tough to ignore.
G-Man wants to know if you got close to a foul ball last night or yesterday. Or home run ball, depending on where you were sitting.
No, I think the closest was, because we were just kind of maneuvering around a little bit, was I think in like the 9th inning, the top of the 9th inning, I think Rowdy Tellez threw a ball in the stands, and it landed not too far away from us, but in a big group of kids. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch them battle for it because they all wanted it.
Did you check out any of the new swag over there?
I looked, but I mean, like I said, I like it, but I wasn't.
Did they have Lorenzo Cain stuff on clearance already?
They did not, but they still had all the banners and stuff around the stadium. I was kind of hoping I could just go and ask somebody and get.
Right.
Can I just get that big banner?
Do you think he's going to retire? I mean,
I
sure
think so.
Sounded like it. I know he didn't use that word, but
I think so.
Unless, I guess, what if the Yankees come calling and say,
I guess you never want to close doors. I mean, what if he takes a couple weeks off and he's feeling a little better? And yeah, you're right. Someone comes up and says, hey, we want you to come in, just be a reserve and like a defensive replacement kind of guy. It's possible, but that was the feeling I kind of got. I mean, I knew nobody would claim him,
right?
Just because then you
got the rest of the contract.
Yes.
To pay.
But I do. I think this is it.
What? Because you were at game 163. I was going to ask you your moment. That might be an easy question for you because you saw the hit.
I was there, yeah. But otherwise, the other thing that sticks out, I mean, first of all, that 2018 for him, I don't think, because of the way the last few years have gone, maybe people don't fully remember just how good he was that year. Like, he was a 6-win player that year. Like, Christian Yelich won the MVP, but the first half of that year, Lorenzo Cain was the best outfielder for the Brewers.
I
mean, he had a well over 300 and on-base percentage, close to 400. Played elite level defense.
308 batting average. He had it was never always a big home run hitter.
No.
He had 10.
Yeah.
813 OPS.
Yeah. I mean, he was bad. He was a catalyst at the top of the lineup. Like, a lot of the times when Christian Yelich was driving in runs, it was Lorenzo Cain. So, but then
a little bit of a different version between Bronny and Fielder.
A little bit. And then, and also the other thing I think of too is the catch he made the next year on opening day at the end of the game against the Cardinals. Like, to end the year the way he did and then to come back and kind of start the next year that way.
Yeah. Got his first Gold Glove ever with the Brewers.
Yes. And that was one that was a way long time coming. And he's been such a good defensive center fielder for so long that, sometimes
for a big man just made it look easy.
Yes. Like I don't know if I ever saw a ball get over his head that wasn't over the fence.
Right.
Like, he was so good at going back on balls. Like, I think he was a very good example, even in his even this year. Like, he was still a good defensive center fielder, but a good example of like the importance of positioning and like instincts and just kind of knowing
his spatial
tendencies.
Awareness.
Yes.
Was off the roof or off the charts.
Yes. Yeah. Being able to, because he was still fast, but not like as fast as he was even when he was with the Royals. But he could still go back on a ball. Like, it didn't seem like he ever had many misplays. Like, if he could get to it, he knew he was going to get to it.
Right. Yeah. I kind of forgot because I was going over, so everybody was kind of posting their clips on Twitter, and I forgot about the Rockies one.
Yes.
That was
at the end of 2019.
Catch.
And remember too, like, he was doing that. Like, he was so, like, the entire Brewers outfield was banged up at the end of that 2019 season. Braun played, but like, probably, really shouldn't have.
Was that the one where his ankle was like just Lorenzo Cain's ankle was just, you shouldn't have been playing?
Yes. And then, even last year in the playoffs, he made that big catch against the Braves.
Yeah.
And then he was injured. Like, and that was it. Like, he just, if he could play, he would.
Mhm.
Like, even if it was like, okay, I'm going to be 80%, but still, like 80% of Lorenzo Cain is still better than a lot of people,
Right.
especially in center field. So I think that too is what I'm going to remember. Just that want and that ability to want to, be out there, and just, from what everyone says, obviously we're not privy to it, but from what everyone says, just that, that great presence in the locker room. Like when you talk about like, veteran leadership, just that guy that young guys can kind of gravitate towards and feel comfortable coming into let's face it, a tough situation, something that can be in certain locker rooms, a very kind of, Shark Tank mentality, because everyone's fighting for a job.
Right.
If someone if your team calls up an outfielder, well, that outfielder might take your job.
Yeah.
Like, and for some guys that can be stressful. That can be, you can get you defensive, but Lorenzo Cain always found a way to make everybody feel welcome in.
I kind of compared him to like a Donald Driver, a guy that was always like
that's
smiling.
Like a good comparison. Like he was good. Like he was never like the top shelf like superstar, but he was very good. Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison.
Won't make the Hall of Fame.
No, but he's,
because everybody's going to ask it seems like a thing when everybody calls it a career or
Yeah.
Hall of Famer, not for
No.
Lorenzo Cain. but-
Again, another one of those guys in the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No.
he is going to be just fine.
Little
He's-
underrated throughout his career, you think? I mean,
Maybe,
playing with
maybe
he did get a world-
playing. He was the best player on that 2015 Royals team. But playing in two smaller markets with Kansas City and Milwaukee, two teams that aren't getting a ton of press, but beloved in both communities. I mean, he's beloved in both towns.
Yeah.
So he's going to be just fine. He had a heck of a career.
I'm just going to look at his career, 283 batting average, 749 OPS. So kind of only 2 All-Stars on there, but
yeah,
that's
a little bit
not his fault.
No, well, and it's always a little tougher, like when you're not a big slugger. Like,
Exactly.
those are always the kind of guys that are going to get looked at first.
Right. Yep. I totally agree. All right. Let's take a quick break here. Bucks fans, what did you think about the draft last night? Did you get back in time to watch it? I know you love the NBA draft.
I do. I was able to keep track, and plus someone that was riding with us back, a friend of ours, was keeping an eye out on it. So
Okay.
kind of getting some updates. But I saw I got home in time and saw the Bucks pick.
Okay.
And then after a little bit, I went to bed and then woke up and found out they made another pick.
Right. Yeah.
Which I guess you never know in the second round of the draft. But that was the last pick of the draft. So
I thought they weren't even going to make a selection. I thought they'd trade in here. They trade back in and make
Got
two of them. So, but Bucks fans, what'd you think? You can hit us up with some text or on the video stream. We're going to take a quick break and then finish up this second hour here in just a couple minutes. here starting next week. You'll want to make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're gonna kind of do some keywords flashing across. We got a new streaming thing going over there, so we're gonna do some keywords flashing, and then once you see that keyword, you just got to enter it in our website. You're gonna win some stuff. Yes, it's my way of getting more people on the video stream. Let's just be honest.
There we go.
So subscribe to it for free.
But
Check
you get
it out.
stuff.
Get stuff. Stuff.
Who doesn't like stuff?
Exactly. So make sure you do that. Let's do a little Carpet City Flooring Center outdoor. Still looking for a name for this. Outdoor info. I need something better than that. Outdoor info. But, you know, with the weekend on coming up here, let's kind of take a look at the fish and game forecast here. So you got for today, well, right now is your major time, 7:33. So maybe you are out there doing a little fishing or something like that. But tonight it'll be at 8:03. The minor is at 12:55, so maybe you can get a little lunch break, wet some lines over there. But for the rest of the weekend, 8:33 tomorrow morning, 9:02 is the major. Then on Sunday, 9:32, catching a kind of a drift here, and then 10:01 p.m. on Sunday if you want to stay up late for that one. So that's kind of just your fishing game forecast right there. Carpet City Flooring Center outdoor something minute update info. We'll come up with a name.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
And if you're out there fishing, listen to us. Thank you, and we'll try not to scream and scare the fish.
Yes. All right. Let's. So we got about 5 minutes. I'll hold off on the NBA until next hour. Get your thoughts on it. But if you're a Longhorn fan, Matthew McConaughey, you got to be pretty pumped about your football team. The Minister of Culture over there's got quite the culture brewing right now. That's his title over there. I want a job title like
Minister of Culture.
Minister of Culture, Matthew McConaughey. But with Arch Manning going over there, and remember, like I mentioned, they got Ewers over there, Quinn Ewers, the kid that left Texas early to enroll early at Ohio State because of NIL, then went back to Texas. So I mean, that's a heck of a prospect quarterback room right there. Now Arch is 2023 class, so
yeah, he's not till next year.
But I mean. I threw out this question earlier, and I know it's different eras with social media and that, but can you remember another high school football player with so much attention on him coming in, or another high school player, the next latest one maybe have been LeBron with this amount of attention? And I don't want to take anything away. He's got like a perfect rating and all that. It does help with the last name Manning.
Of course. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's just, you hear that, and that's I think immediately going to add some legitimacy. You know, if you're, like us, just average sports fans, and you hear, Arch Smith, okay, you don't think too much of it, but knowing
or even
Arch
Quinn, who's a 1.00,
exactly,
who's
great, but but you hear Manning, and you're like, oh, that's just going to perk your ears up,
right? So I hope the kid has a successful career.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, his grandpa and two uncles are, NFL royalty.
Yes.
Peyton and Eli a little bit more than grandpa, but, just because of championships and Super Bowl championships, if you will. But, you hope that you don't put too much.
Yeah. You don't think, oh, he's going to be, he's the next generation, so he's going to be even better than last. No, I mean, he might, maybe, but that's a really high bar, either of them.
Yeah.
If he,
does it actually help a little bit that his dad is not Peyton?
Maybe that. By the way, I like Cooper.
I do too.
Anytime he's been like on TV or something, he has been entertaining. Like he does very much have that Manning family wit.
What they always say, that Cooper was the better athlete.
Yeah.
I remember Peyton and Eli always saying that he was the better athlete out of all of them. So, but no, I mean, everybody's like, I think they all assumed like it was going to be like Ole Miss.
Yeah, or Alabama, because it's Alabama.
Yep. Tennessee, I know, was kind of over there.
Yeah.
I kind of like the fact he's not going to another, like where a Manning has gone. I know Eli and his dad went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Peyton went to Tennessee.
Well, by the time he gets there, Texas will be in the SEC.
That's true.
So, I mean, it is an SEC school. Just
because I saw some people talking like, "Oh, he's not in the SEC." Well, no, hold on, it will be. It will be. But I just making his own path.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, and I think that's cool.
And I mean, just think about this. For his quote unquote legacy, like what happens if he is very good and kind of leads Texas to be quote unquote back? I mean, really, I mean, there's been some good years in there, but they haven't been a national championship contender since what's 09 when
Since
they
Vince
lost.
Young.
Well, I was gonna say 09, they lost to Alabama in the title game.
That too. Yeah.
When Colt McCoy got hurt.
Oh yeah, Colt McCoy. Yeah.
So they haven't been at that level since. I mean, I said they've had some good years, but never like that consistent, sustained winner.
Because Steve Sarkisian is the coach over there, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, that's a heck of a bounce back for the Steve Sarkisian. I mean,
Yeah, he's got,
USC. And
if it doesn't work, it's all on him because it's going to be, hey, you had the talent here, you just didn't do enough with it.
Yep.
So
I
hey,
mean, he goes to USC, had some issues over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Kind of resurrected his career with Alabama.
Yep.
Hot minute with Atlanta. Hot Atlanta. But I mean, you're right. He's got his quarterbacks.
Yes.
He's got it. I didn't realize this. There's been 3 quarterbacks with a perfect rating. Texas, all Texas. Vince Young, Quinn, and now Arch.
Wow.
I saw somebody tweet that yesterday.
Interesting.
I was kind of surprised that Vince Young was like a 1.000 or whatever it
Yeah.
is, out there. But not bad company.
They would be very lucky if either of those guys were in the Vince Young category.
Yeah. But finally, that's a long process is over with. But you talk about legacy too. It's like he could go to a school and make his own name. Whereas, like if you went to Tennessee and balled out, we don't have to have who was better, Peyton or Arch?
Yeah.
Thing. All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. Let's talk some NBA draft coming up in just a couple minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk, 105.1, 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Good morning. Here's what we're learning today. We'll start in the courts in Barron County. A gavel drop and 15 years in prison in a murder case there. A judge yesterday sentenced 22-year-old Clayton Lauritsen to a decade and a half in a December 2020 shooting. They say that he shot and killed a man who was chasing his roommate. Lauritsen had pleaded guilty earlier this year. In other headlines, a sex offender who was on the run from Pepin County was apprehended in Eau Claire. Now, this all happened overnight. Pepin County Sheriff's Office reporting that a registered sex offender, Alan Owens, tampered with GPS and a monitoring bracelet and was missing. Deputies had info that he may have checked into the Days Inn Motel on Truex Lane in the town of Union. He was taken into custody a bit before 11 last night, medically cleared at a local hospital, and then transferred to the Eau Claire jail. Oh, no shortage of political action here in Wisconsin, so we check in at the Capitol. Former State Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman testified yesterday about how he was unable to produce some records in an open records case against Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. This was in Dane County Court. Gableman said some emails are just permanently deleted.
And a Yahoo account is a free account, correct?
Yes.
So if you just stop using it, you still have access to use it.
No, the account was deleted.
And who deleted the account?
Someone who was helping me in my office.
Gableman faces a contempt ruling in a separate open records case against his office, which is overseeing Voss's investigation into Wisconsin's 2020 election. Well, in other headlines, Stephen Avery has changed prisons. Yeah. The state's Department of Corrections this week said Avery had been moved to a medium security facility at Fox Lake. Now, he was at that maximum security prison in Waupun. Avery, of course, serving a life sentence for the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbeck. He's maintained his innocence in that case. His lawyer did say in April they plan to file a new appeal soon. Well, there are goals for the coals. As We Energies backs away from one of its green energy goals, and the utility yesterday said it's going to keep its coal-fired power plant in Oak Creek open for another couple of years to ensure a reliable electric supply. Now, the plant was set to begin to close next year. Now, it'll run in some capacity until 2025. Alliant Energy does serve central Wisconsin. Yesterday, they say they're delaying the closure of the coal-fired plants in Sheboygan and Portage as well for the same reasons. And of course, you're probably talking about that NBA draft a little bit with a local lacrosse connection. Time for Kasper to add some Washington Wizards jersey to the lineup. And now we dribble down the court instead to see a Florida Republican congresswoman throwing down the smack, challenging the Vice President Kamala Harris in basketball. She saw some viral video of Harris missing some shots and had this to say.
I challenge her to a one-on-one. Maybe we can put some policy on the line. Maybe, you know what, if I win, they go secure the borders. Or, you know what, even better, if I win, she has to go to the borders.
Exactly what Kasper said to me. He was running up and down the hall saying,
I challenge her to a one-on-one. Maybe we can put some policy on the line.
beating his chest. For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
We'll see intervals of clouds and sun throughout the morning and into the afternoon today, with a chance at a few scattered showers and storms. Otherwise, temperatures making a run for the upper 80s and low 90s before more clouds move in tonight, and that'll give way to better chances for showers and storms, which could linger into early tomorrow morning before becoming more scattered in the afternoon, with highs making a run only for the low 80s before we start to dry out tomorrow night and lows in the upper 50s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike Dandria.
Giving it your all on the court? Make sure you have the right partner by your side. Highland's Leg Cramps Quick Dissolve Tablets, America's #1 leg cramp relief solution for over 10 years. No water needed, no stomach upset, just fast, effective relief. Also available in caplets. Highland's Leg Cramps, to healthy competition and beyond. Available at Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
Saving money feels pretty good. Allstate. Better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Passion? I live and breathe sports. It's my life. It's also a problem.
Dedication?
You deserve the best of the best. That's why I grind it out every day to give you the best show possible.
Knowledge?
Cover 2 defense should not have been played in that situation. Stack the box, put 8 guys up there, and dare them to throw it.
Entertaining?
They pay me a little bit to talk, but the swagger, I give them for free.
I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Wisconsin's premier sports talk, the Dan Kasper Show.
Yeah, baby.
Now, let's get it on. The Dan Kasper Show is on air right now.
What time is it? Dan.
Here's your guy, Dan Kasper.
So light 'em up.
All right, final hour here on this TGIF. Thank gosh it's a Friday. It's a feel-good Friday. Appreciate you tuning in, however you're tuning in and wherever you may be tuning in. Going to talk some more, NBA draft coming up here in just a skosh. We'll get to a transition 3 here coming up as well. I kind of already did the Feel Good Friday, the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Feel Good Friday a little bit earlier, but to revisit it, I'm sure you saw this, Brandon, but it was the Brewers and Nationals game, and there was an Onalaska man who was having a heart attack, and a couple bystanders at the game able to perform CPR and save his life, essentially. So Onalaska man, sounds like he's doing good right now. There was an article in the USA Today a couple days ago, but that was the one kind of highlighted in the first hour right there. So thank you to those bystanders.
People helping people.
People helping people. Yep, definitely. Speaking of helping people, let's hand out some more free gas from River Country Co-op here. I got the $50 certificate in my hand.
I see it.
You see it. If you're watching the video, you probably see it. So we got a couple more. If you don't win this one, we got a couple more. So don't forget to sign up on the website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on the nation tab. Doesn't cost you anything. Takes you 5 seconds to sign up. And then we just randomly pick, like on random.org. I type in the numbers and boom, right there. So let's just get at it. So we got them in. Space, but you like the sound effect?
I do.
Bar.
You had to emphasize so people could hear you.
So people
hitting the space bar or the enter button.
Exactly. Let's go. Okay, so we got was it number 15? Number 15 was Tyler Holton from Auburn.
Yeah,
Auburn.
Oh, Auburn.
Somebody, I remember somebody texted might have been a while ago, saying it's Auburn. So, congrats, Tyler. For winning that. We'll put that in the mail for you so you could save some gas. You don't have to drive here and get it. So, again, if you haven't won it, go to our website and sign up and win that baby.
And you could
be a winner. All right, let's chat a little hoops here. We got so you were able to watch a little bit last night. I know you are a big fan of the NBA draft.
I am. I enjoy the draft. I love the fact that it's just 2 rounds all in one night.
They get it done quick.
And it's a week after the finals.
Yeah.
Like the NBA doesn't waste time. I like that.
They're
not afraid of downtime like the NFL is.
And I like the fact that their picks come in quick and they don't use the whole clock, or that gets a little too dramatized in the NFL sort of thing. So I like that it's quick and at it. But what'd you think of the Bucks draft in the first round there? Marjan Beauchamp. We did a little bit of a background on him in the first hour. Interesting story. He played at 4 different high schools, just different levels. Actually played for Brandon Waugh. Remember Brandon Waugh? For the first couple.
Trailblazers.
Yep. Then decided not to go to college, even though he had a lot of D1 offers. Was going to work out on his own, get ready for the NBA. Then COVID hit, so he was, that kind of took him off the radar for a little bit. Played a little bit for community college, then went to G League, and he skyrocketed back up on the draft boards. 6'6" wing, but he's mostly known for his defense. Talked about he's good in transition and all that, but one of his big weaknesses is the jumper. He needs to work on his jump shot there. But one positive is that defense, that perimeter defense. Potentially a guy who could cover a 6'10" player, and the next possession maybe a 6'2" guard, sort of thing. So, what'd you think of the pick?
I mean, I was fine with it. I mean, I think that when you look and you kind of read into him a little bit, I mean, there were some people that were really high on him.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that maybe he might, kind of have a bit of a lottery look to him. But there isn't the track record that there is with obviously the guys that were. But I think it's a good pick as far as upside goes. You mentioned the defense. I mean, that's good. That can be the way he contributes right away. The versatility there.
Mm-hmm.
I think really the Celtics in that series did a good job of their switching and how they were able to get the matchups they wanted. And he's a guy that, he there's versatility in who he can cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can cover a bigger guy, but yet he can also cover a guard. And there's skills there that'll allow him to play right away, but there's other ones that can be developed.
Right.
I mean, he's far from a finished product, obviously, because none of these guys are. But there's traits he has that I think can help this team.
And I know the Bucks GM, I mean, this is kind of high praise already, or assistant GM, excuse me, said after the pick that he might be the second best athlete already on our team behind Giannis. So
that covers some ground.
Yeah. I'm like, well, that's kind of some high praise right there. But, a lot of Bucks fans, I think, fell in love with the pick. If you go and see some of the videos, he was very emotional. And talked about, his path and that. And it was a cool video with John Horse talking with him and Coach Bud. Bucks actually had brought him in a couple times, and he had dinner with Coach Bud. So, obviously they were very interested in him from the get-go, if he was going to be there. So, that's the thing with the NBA draft. And, I know you and I are like this with the NFL draft. We don't look at grades until after a couple of years. Well, I was looking at grades for the NBA draft, but the one thing I've always found over the years, I don't think I've seen a grade lower than a B- or
and
C.
that, it's always like, oh, it's an A+ or it's a B.
Right. And I think that's because a lot of these guys, the NBA draft is so much based on potential. Like it's there, the ceiling's there. The question is, do they get to there?
Yes.
Like they're all talented.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, can they get to that ceiling? Can they reach that potential?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was looking. I'm like, oh yeah, B+, A, not a lot of anything. I don't know if I actually saw anything lower than a B-, to be honest with you. Even the Bucks second round pick of Hugo Besson got an A for the last pick in the entire draft because he's a catch and release type of shooter.
And he's a guy that, I mean, a lot of people thought would go a lot higher.
Mm-hmm. And that's we don't know how long or how much these rookies are going to play.
And we don't know if this may be the last time we ever talk about Hugo Besson. We don't know.
Right. And we don't know how much Marjan's going to play.
Yes.
A lot is dependent on what John Horst does with the rest of the roster this offseason. Free agency, trades. I mean, we were talking about yesterday, name the last first-round pick for the Bucks that actually had a big impact, probably Dante and Giannis.
Yeah.
I mean, Dante for a couple of years there before he got hurt. Giannis at 13.
Giannis, yeah, we know.
Jabari, I mean, maybe, but, didn't live up to the potential or the hype that we all thought was going to be there.
Yeah.
So, and then you look at some of the other picks in between there. Malcolm Brogdon was a second-round pick, so he wasn't even a first-round, but you can't count him as a first-round immediate impact. So, Thon Maker, no. Shad Vaughn, no. So list goes on and on. Johnny Davis, not often do you find a match made that was early in the mock draft process.
Yeah.
Johnny Davis it was Spurs and Wizards, I think, the two popular spots, and then he ends up going to the Wizards last night. I actually like this. I like the pick for the Wizards because Bradley Beal's going to be there. As far as we know, he's saying all the right things that he wants to be there. There was some discussion whether he had opted out of his player contract. I had saw the other day, and there was some talk like whether he did or not. There was a report, but then I guess there was like a little back and forth, like Bradley Beal was even surprised on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's like a for sure thing yet. It's still a little bit up in the air. But if Bradley Beal is there with the Wizards, I like that pairing with Johnny Davis because it doesn't make Johnny Davis have to be the main guy right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Bradley Beal is there, it takes a little bit of that pressure off of Johnny Davis to be the main guy right away, which I think he needs.
Yes. Yeah. You never want to have a young guy come in regardless and be like, okay, you're our guy.
Mhm.
It's such a jump going from college where teams, you play good teams and there's teams with NBA caliber players to the NBA where obviously literally everybody is an NBA caliber player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, big factor though is whether Bradley Beal is going to be there or not.
Mhm.
That to me, otherwise, then that does put a little bit more of the spotlight and focus on Johnny Davis. But I mean, if Beal's going to be there, I kind of like that as a running mate. It's a great guy to kind of learn from. And I hope Johnny Davis has a fantastic career
Mm-hmm.
because we all know he still has some stuff that he's got to improve on.
Yeah.
I mean, every player in this draft, you can make that
Yeah,
case. for.
there was no slam dunk. Like,
Mhm.
oh, this is the
Heck, the
number one
first pick overall
We
was
didn't
a
know,
surprise
yeah.
to some people.
Yeah.
We knew the top three, what order it was going to be, but I think everybody was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
They went with Paulo.
Yep.
Orlando did.
Yep.
Everybody thought it was going to be Jabari.
Yep.
He went 3. Everybody got the second pick overall, right? Which had
Chet,
home goal in OKC, but even threw a wild card right away with the first overall pick.
Exactly.
So, but no, I like it for if Bradley Beal stays there for Johnny Davis. It might be a little struggle, and that's not against Johnny Davis if Bradley Beal isn't there. It's just you're putting a lot on the youngster right away.
And Bradley Beal's a very, very good player.
Mm-hmm. So, but still cool to say you were a
exciting.
top 10 pick.
Oh yeah, exciting.
If you would have said this a year ago that Johnny
People would
Davis,
be looking at you crazy.
Yeah, Johnny Davis was a top 10 pick in the draft. No,
like you're taking a drink out of your coffee right now. They'd be asking, "What's in that coffee?"
That's a good point. Yeah, very well said. So, I don't know, but overall with the draft, I was watching it with the kiddo last night, kind of going through it. I did notice, maybe he was on a different station, but I didn't see Jalen Rose anywhere.
I did.
Okay, so maybe he wasn't on. I watched it with Billis and Kendrick, or was Jalen Rose not on the desk? Like he
might not have been because I thought it was Rose. Yeah, because after the Bucks pick, I think it was Rose and Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
We're both very.
You're right. I did see that.
Yeah,
but,
because they were both very, very high on the pick for the Bucks.
Yeah, you're right. I did see that. I was I think it was at the beginning of the main desk, if you will, with Billis and the drinking game of wingspans and. No, although he did kind of cut back a little bit, I feel like, but I was keeping a mental note every time he would say wingspan or like that. But I thought Perkins did not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick Perkins wasn't bad. I know was it Schmidt, Mike Schmidt, their other guy that's now with Portland. I think that's his name. He was a draft expert for for ESPN, but now he's part of the front office over there. So, but no, I just with the NBA draft, no draft, no other major league sport is going to catch up to the NFL in terms of the popularity of the draft.
And that's it. Like the NFL draft is way overhyped. It's way overblown, but we still eat it up.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like I will admit it totally is, but I still eat it up with a spoon.
100%. I'm all about it. I did try an NBA mock draft. I think I got 4 right.
Not bad.
I got Chet Holmgren right. I got Johnny Davis right. and then I think I got a couple half points. So,
well, there's a lot of trades in the NBA draft.
And I was surprised there actually wasn't more last
Yeah.
night. You know, I was like, finally the Knicks did whatever the heck they were doing last night. But finally it's like, oh, we got to trade finally. But I'm like, okay, we've gone through the top 10 and nothing. You know, nothing so far. Everybody talked about the Kings were going to trade, and nope, they didn't trade either. They went Keegan Murray. But no, I was trying to think the other day, like, okay, how can the NBA get more attention for their draft like the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NHL? And it's like, you can't.
No.
I mean, the NFL is a marketing genius. Say what you want about
Yeah.
them. They pipe up their combine.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, we're so tuned into the underwear Olympics.
Yeah.
Yet the NBA, I don't think, can do that.
Yeah, because they like broadcast the workouts and stuff. Yeah, but they don't hype it up that way.
They don't hype it up.
And I think part of it too is like that's going on while the playoffs are still going on.
Right.
So the NBA, or like I said, the NFL is terrified of downtime. Like right now, they've got to be just like twiddling their thumbs because, like, oh my goodness, we have.
Well, they're still technically in the news, but not.
Yeah, not for good
positively.
reason. Yeah, not for good reasons. But yeah, because right now, until I mean, heck, yesterday I've seen people making a big deal. Well, this is when training camp opens for all the teams. I'm like, okay, we knew it was going to be near the end of July. Like, does it matter if it's the 26th or the 27th?
Yeah.
No, but that's going to stop the hype machine from rolling.
You know, because you look at NFL.com and you look at, okay, what's their content? Well, first one's Arch Manning, you know, looking at the top news. Then it's ranking every division by quarterback. Okay. 5 teams that will improve the most in wins. Cowboys Parsons eyes sack record, 15 is minimum. Okay. Jefferson, your wide receiver, eyes the Hall of Fame, excited the Vikings aren't, quote, run first.
Okay.
These are top headlines.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, nothing here is exactly game breaking.
No, it's not. So, but we eat it up. That's why I don't try to force football stuff on here. I love football.
No, and that's it. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I don't want to bore everybody and have to, like, you know, we're going to talk about the 4-string offensive line. No, I'm just being a little too dramatic there, but there's other stuff to talk about. We can figure it out, right?
That time will come.
It will, and it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, and I saw you're going to be broadcasting from Green Bay.
Yeah, got a house across the street there.
You bringing your bike? You gonna see if you can get a player to ride your bike? Bring the little guy.
Probably won't bring the little guy, but maybe if I bring his bike, I might be more.
But like, how embarrassing would that be? Like, I'll ride your bike, and then where's the little kid? Oh no, he's not here.
That's my bike. What are you talking about? That's the bike I ride.
You can get some inquisitive looks.
Well, go a different way with that, but okay, I'll go buy a bike just for that. No, kid, get out of the way.
Oh, by the way, you know who threw out one of the first pitches of the Brew game yesterday?
Who?
Gilbert Brown.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a few of them. He went last.
Anybody else that you recognize?
Nope.
No,
it was like a season ticket holder and something. Yeah, someone else I didn't know.
All right. Well, again, I'll mention this. Speaking of Green Bay, I got a notice that they're sending something in the mail today for the Casper Classic. So, I got the shipping confirmation yesterday.
Teaser
that the Packers have sent over.
And if you're going to be there and bidding on that, just think your odds are a little bit better to possibly win it because there's no way I'm going to enter anything for it.
Way to pipe that one up right there.
But I'm sure everyone else will, so I'm sure it'll be great.
That's awesome. So I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but apparently it's coming today.
Maybe it's a bike. The Green Bay Packers bike.
A bike. I remember I don't know if they still do in the pro shop. They had a ukulele. I don't know what I thought they had like a guitar in there, but I was like, oh, ukulele. They come up with some.
I appreciate when like teams and just different companies can come up like, what's the most obscure piece of like team or athlete memorabilia?
Yep. I just kind of went to the Packers Pro Shop to see what's some of their newest items, because we're just going to randomize this last hour here and have some fun.
Always.
No jerseys. Okay. Oh, they got some of that for that soccer match that I don't think is selling very. I don't know what tickets, but you're not hearing a whole lot about it.
No.
Pins. What the heck is this? Oh, it's a bobblehead of their draft picks, but they don't have the picture yet. They just have the outline of it.
So you
That
know.
kinda okay. That camo jacket's pretty cool too, but $120 right there. Oof. All right, nothing really too obscure. A lot of soccer stuff on here for that match that they got coming up. Okay. But I've been guilty of buying some really, really, really obscure stuff just because I didn't have it. I always get sucked in when I go to the pro shop that I have to get something when I go there. Or like if I went to AmFan, I'd be sucked in to buy something.
And they did have the City Connect jerseys right at the door.
Yeah. See, they've got a flag here, one that you put outside your house.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever, whenever, forever. I immediately think of Shakira.
Did they have Shakira on it?
Well, if it did, there'd be a different story there. But they flipped around the wherever, whenever. It's supposed to be whenever, wherever.
Yeah, maybe that's why they did.
No. But I instantly got
Subtly
Shakira now
avoiding
in my head.
possible legality.
Yep. Got Shakira in my head right now. So, yep. You're welcome for that song being stuck in your head. So, all right. Let's just take a random. I was gonna say a random break. Let's take a break.
Calculator break.
And then we'll get to some other random stuff coming up here in a little bit. Let's have some fun in this final 35 minutes or so. All right. We got some text to catch up on, some comments on the YouTube stream. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit.
Saturday or Sunday, and I was worried with the Blue Jays that they would make it the ESPN Sunday night game again. So we chose to go Saturday instead. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't get my Corbin Burns bobblehead, but at least I'm going to get to see Corbin Burns pitch on Saturday instead.
True. That is true. That is true. It's Saturday game too. It's like 3:10, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's an afternoon one.
Yeah, it's 3:10, so that'll make it easier to take Carson to the game. This is going to be his first game in Milwaukee, so
Heck yeah.
we're looking forward to a little family trip down to Milwaukee to go watch the Brewers.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Hey.
But yeah, I was just going to say, like, you were talking about the pro shop over in Green Bay, and we were just over there a couple weeks ago too. And it was hard to, there was so much stuff there that I wanted to bring home with me, but I think I'm going to have a harder time not filling up my car down in Milwaukee.
What's the weirdest, most random thing you've bought at one of those pro shops, if there is anything you could think of?
Oh my goodness. I remember buying something really weird as a kid, but I can't recall what it was, but it just was something that was like, why would they even, like, what does this have to do with football? Why? It's just, I don't know. There's just so much stuff there. I did almost come home with a cribbage board, a Packers cribbage board.
The one thing the pro shop does is they like, hey, we've got this gear that no player wants. We're going to put it in the pro shop. And, it's actually like really good shape. Some of those cleats. I've bought a couple face masks. I've bought a pair of pants, and I bought a yellow blazer. You've seen me wear the yellow blazer.
I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
$50.
nice.
$50. It's got the Packer logo in there. Come on. You can't go wrong right there.
Right. Absolutely not.
Exactly. Well, hey, you have fun at the game. Make sure you send us some pics. Okay, bud?
Will do. Absolutely, Dan.
All right. There you go. There's Richie. I don't know if he likes me calling him Richard. I just call him professional.
I've called him worse.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. Hey, did you see? So before the draft started last night, I've talked about this before, but I was cleaning the man cave and organizing it because I had to move some stuff around and put up some other stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bust out the Sega.
Oh.
So I played a little bit of the primetime Dion Sega, where you got the trash talking on there. I actually recorded a clip. It's on Facebook. Let me see. So you can kind of get a sense of some of the trash talking you can do in the Sega game. So this is how old it is. Edgar Bennett is listed as a fullback. LaShawn Johnson is listed as a running back for the Packers.
Ooh.
But let me see if I can play it up here. Try to get this going here. Okay.
Going down, fool. I know you don't want that. Come on, bang it.
That's when you could actually trash talk in a video game.
Yeah.
And then I popped in good old an NBA game, and I've told you about this before. So I played with the Orlando Magic, right? Penny dropped 38 points in the game last night that I went up against with the Hornets. Alonzo Mourning dominated us because Shaq fouled out by halftime. But this is the it's not Shaq.
It's probably like center number 32.
I'll show you the picture. Roster center.
I just want to see a closer look.
Roster center.
He does not have a picture.
Nope.
No. Why isn't Horace Grant wearing the goggles?
He's wearing the goggles in the game, though.
Okay. All right.
You know something I didn't realize about Horace Grant? I saw a thing on social media. He was one of the top 5 highest paid NBA players in 96 or 97.
Really?
Yeah. He was like.
Well, I suppose they probably still had Shaq and Penny on rookie contracts.
It was. I was like, because Jordan was the highest. Is it with Jordan's comeback? So it must have been like 97. I think it was right after Shaq left because Shaq was I think it was his first year. He got the 10 million.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Horace Grant had like top 5. It was one of those Twitter or Facebook graphics. I'm like,
gotcha.
Ooh, Horace Grant. He might have been like 2 or 3, to be honest with you. Jordan was by far the biggest one, but yeah, I was like, I saw that. I'm like, oh, Horace Grant, the original mid-range hoopster.
Mm-hmm.
Always remember as a kid, top of the free throw. Top what?
1996-97, highest paid, Michael Jordan. Second, Horace Grant. He made $14 million that year.
So yeah, it wasn't
$14 million plus. Third was Reggie Miller. Fourth was Shaq.
I would yeah, so I wasn't wrong, right?
No.
Is that a graphic or was that just you Googled it?
I Googled the I just searched for 96, 97 NBA salaries.
Mhm.
And yeah, Horace Grant. And I believe, I think the second, because it's got 2 lines, I believe the graphic would be what that would be in current day money, which would be 25 mil.
Jeez.
Michael Jordan made 30.1, which would be the equivalent of 52. So Michael Jordan would definitely be getting the Supermax.
Yeah, he would.
I think that's pretty safe.
Yeah. I do have NBA Jam on the Sega too, but I didn't bust that out. But this one was I'm blanking on the name.
Sean Bradley made over $5 million that year.
Okay.
26th.
But there was a moment, so because Hudson was watching me play it. NBA Action 95 is what it was called. And I remember playing this all the time as a kid because it had Marv Albert. Marv Albert's the voice of this game. Time running out, throws up a prayer. It's good. And then, yes. That's how all of his under. Shaq hit a full court 3-pointer in the game last night. Because I forgot how the buttons work, and I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what's to pass, what's to shoot, and what's to run fast, and I accidentally pressed shoot after a rebound, and he made a full court 3-pointer. Shaq's had a really sweet looking jumper in that game too, and it's not.
That's not entirely accurate.
Not entirely accurate. What is your favorite old school sports game?
I guess if we're gonna use air quotes old school, like when we were.
I was thinking about that the other day. What do we define old school now as?
I think I would probably go with NHL 94 and the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Because this is roughly because that's roughly the same era of games you're talking about.
Should we go 2000 and before?
Yes. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I would say NHL 94 and the Sega Genesis.
Because what do we? Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. What do we define as old school now? At what point do we get in our age, Brandon, that we define as old school? Because some people are like, well, old school is 2009 now.
Yeah.
Boy.
Listen to that classic music.
Right. But I was thinking about, 2000 or before.
Yeah, I would say NHL 94 on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah. See, I was in NHL 95. But it's the same game.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned the glories that are that is Brass Bonanza for the Hartford Whalers.
That was my first introduction to Sergei Fedorov and the Red Wings. Which, did you see the trailer, by the way, for the E60?
Fantastic.
Right.
It's been a while since I've looked forward to like one of those ESPN documentaries like that one.
I know we talked about it a few days ago, but I saw it and I'm like, okay, this looks awesome. But I also feel like this is perfect because kind of forget about them as one of the best rivalries.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make the case it might be the best rivalry of the 90s when you factor in both teams are really good and like
big name players all
and
across
it wasn't
the
just
board.
they played high profile games. They had both teams were just loaded with top tier talent, and they absolutely hated each other.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason, like every time they play a game, like there was a big old fight or something. Like they just it was the perfect combination.
It was when they were doing that, and I'm like, I forgot Brendan Shanahan was with the Red Wings during that time, and it was like the Red Wings were kind of like that team. It was like, all right, we're all going to load up. Mike Vernon was there for a little bit. As Chris Osgood
it was almost a bit like the
and
Yankees of that time.
Yeah,
where I guess you could maybe say even of now, but more so then because the Yankees won championships in the 90s.
Yeah, but it was like, oh man, Adam Foote. I'm like, oh, I forgot.
Eventually,
about all these names.
eventually near the end of that stretch, Ray Bork joined the Avs.
Yep,
even won a championship.
Yep. Oh man, it was good. And it just gave me flashbacks as a kid because I'd be getting up early for school. I always went early so I could go to the gym and play hoops. But like ESPN was always on, and I know they finally brought back the song, but it's like it was always like they would promo the next game coming up. One single picture of one of the players,
of a player,
like the brown background and then the white font with that song,
like Fedorov.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, that's bringing me back to my childhood right there. But I can't wait for that. It's a good refresher, and I really think it is one of the most forgotten rivalries of all
great
time.
Rivalries.
And I was
Red Wings Avalanche.
I was trying to think of another like rivalry where I would love to see another documentary, but like a rivalry that might, Packers Bears. I get it. You could go over 100 years, but like a short term type of rivalry that was so intense. You had Yankees Red Sox for the early 2000s sort of thing, but
there's one, and I don't know how much it factors in, but Fox a while ago did a did an episode of the Dale Earnhardt Jeff Gordon rivalry, which is really interesting because it was a rivalry, but in some ways it was a rivalry because, like, I don't think a lot of people give Dale Earnhardt the credit for being as smart as he was. I think a lot of people, oh, it's Dale Earnhardt. He was, some dumb race car driver. Not at all. Dude was very smart. He was the guy that really brought like marketing to NASCAR.
Yeah.
But he realizes he's the, hey, he's the Southern
intimidator.
guy. Yeah, he's the Southern guy. And here comes this, this young kid from California. Like he understood, like, we can make money here.
Mm-hmm.
And like they made a ton of it.
That's a great point.
But yeah, Fox did a show on it. It's really good. Like it explains, and that was one too that most of these rivalries kind of fade out. That one obviously it ended when Dale Earnhardt died.
Right.
Like it's very interesting. I will say, even if you're not a NASCAR fan, like it's interesting to kind of see all the subtle nuances of it.
It's it's a rivalry. It's a good rivalry if you're not a fan of the sport, but about it.
And that was when the sport blew up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when NASCAR really got popular, and those were the two most popular drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can still picture. I think it was the award ceremony when like Jeff Gordon had like a thing of milk and toast.
Yes, because Dale Earnhardt, gave him guff, being a young kid, so he toasted him, after I think it was after Gordon won his first championship.
Yep.
Most of the time he toasted with champagne or something. He toasted Earnhardt with milk, and
Earnhardt stood up and
he's like, "Yep,
exactly." I still have that image in my head.
Yep.
So that'd be a good one. I'd like to watch.
Yeah, if you can find that, you may be able to find that on YouTube at this point. But I would say it's worth the time to watch. It is very good.
So I was trying to think of some other ones out there too, but I'm just like,
yeah.
I know some people kind of mentioned, maybe like the Knicks and the Bulls of the 90s.
Yeah.
A little bit there.
I mean, Knicks and Pacers, but I think the Reggie Miller, the winning time, 30 for 30 kind of covers that.
We could do the Heat and Knicks, Jeff Van Gundy, and the the leg gate with Alonzo Mourning. But that was a decent ride.
Yeah, they played a lot
in the postseason.
Like it always seemed like they always played in the postseason.
Yep. Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, and then Larry Johnson and Patrick Ewing up there. And Pat Riley obviously coached the Knicks at one point in the early 90s too. So
but I'm trying to think off my head, like one that lasted like 3-4 years, but was just
so intense.
Yeah, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm trying to even think of like football, but I wouldn't even say like Packers and Seahawks. I mean, it started with the Fail Mary, and then you had the NFC Championship, but it was so. I don't know if I'd call that a rivalry.
No, you just had a few years where you had like memorable games being played against the same team, and that's different.
Right. And then, I don't know if like I'd put 49ers and Cowboys in the 90s in there.
Maybe. Like there was that stretch early to mid 90s where they were the two best teams. Basically, the NFC title game was the Super Bowl.
Right. But was it like, did they hate each other?
I don't know if they, because you had guys that kind of jump sides.
Dion, Charles Haley, Ken Norton.
Yeah, you had guys that bop one way or the other. So it's not. Yeah, I can imagine like Brendan Shanahan going to the Avalanche in like the late 80s, or late 90s, yeah.
It's too bad that we couldn't get a Harbaugh Pete Carroll one.
That was possible.
That could have been one with the 49ers and Seahawks.
Yes,
for a couple of years, I think, especially if Crabtree and Sherman. Were stuck around.
Yeah, they were the ingredients. It just didn't get to simmer long enough.
Yep. I mean, maybe it didn't last that long either. I was thinking Bengals and Steelers, but that got violent there a little bit. But I don't know. I was just trying to think of some other ones, and it's just kind of I'm blanking here a little bit. Not even really in baseball, there isn't.
No.
I mean, yeah, those Yankees and Red Sox in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they had a couple. They had the high profile meetings
with the Pedro and Zimmer and the Veritek and A-Rod.
Aaron Boone.
Yep, Aaron Boone.
And then 03 and then 04. But that's just a long term rivalry that I think that was just one of the more intense times of it.
And we see that with those long term rivalries where there's certain points where like, okay, both these teams are really good, so it heightens it up. Duke, North Carolina.
Yes.
When we were in college with the Tyler Hansborough era, and but both those teams, when they're really good and they battle it out, that's when you get high tensions. And as fans, we like it. At certain points, though, it gets a little that's a little too much now. And I could still picture Hansborough getting bloodied up. And was it what was that guy's name? Was it Green? Who was the number 15 for Duke at that time?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either. Blanking. Now it's going to bug me until I look it up. But no. Okay. They didn't say when that was going to come out yet, did they? Did they have
No,
a
I
date?
think it's soon though, because you're seeing like trailers and stuff. So I can't imagine. I thought it was pretty quick, and I'd seen that. I think it was ESPN Plus was actually going to have an extended version of it.
Good. Good, because I will be all about that. You do know what's dropping though today? The Giannis movie. Yeah,
That's right.
Rise
Yeah.
on Disney Plus. If you want to check it out. So that's the one thing though too, like great. I'll watch it because I love Giannis and his story is awesome. The one thing I have problems with these and even like books, the story's not done yet. You know what I mean? Like when I read a biography, but the person or the coach is still active, it's like, but there's so much more.
Yeah,
Like I read the Belichick one from Ian O'Connor. Great. But that was before Brady left.
yeah.
So there's like, okay, but I want to know more now after that.
Yes.
You know, there's a chapter there. Hell, there's probably even a book there yet. Like that's the one thing my bugaboos on documentaries or anything like that is like but this is more about their journey to get to it. So I'm excited to see this with the Giannis one. So yeah, that drops today in case anybody wants to check it out. All right, we got to take our final break. Last call for some randomness if you want to join the combo. Otherwise, we'll cover the bases here in just a couple of minutes. Quick break. We'll be back.
You're listening to The Dan Kasper Show.
Dennis on the video stream, Techno Bowl. It's his pick for
Yeah.
retro. That's a
You
popular one.
can't go wrong with that.
No. So I know Justice has the updated one that he always does.
Well, because he always does the Packer ones every week during the season, where he lets the game play out.
I know. I think I asked you this before, but are you going to get the new Madden when it comes out?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I won't be super excited about it until I. By the way, speaking of video game news, it seemed. Did you see that for next year the NCAA football game is still on track?
I did.
There are some updates with it because some people have been asking, and how.
So I was going to ask this, but you'd rather get that than Madden, I'm assuming.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I figured. I'm going to do it just because it might be the last hard copy.
You never
depending
get.
on how,
well, yeah.
And it's it's got Madden on there, and I want to do some stuff on air with that. So do some fun stuff there. Maybe we'll even get a listener Madden tourney.
There you go.
Like that. I want to do some fun stuff. So, got anything planned for the weekend? Finishing up your little R&R?
Not really. Might be doing some golfing.
I heard you and Justice
we went on earlier this week. It was all good except for me on the par threes.
Where'd you go?
Hallie.
Okay.
Yeah, for whatever reason I struggled on the par threes that day.
All right.
Just one of those days. Justice was cooking though. He had back-to-back birdies.
We don't need to hype up his golf game here. Guy goes too much. He's got too much time on his hands to, more than other people. I'm kidding.
Gotta get him at the Casper Classic.
Huh?
I gotta get him at the Casper Classic. Easy for me to say.
What else do we got out there? We want to catch up on. Your prediction for the Brewers?
I'm gonna say they find a way to take 2 or 3.
I'm gonna go 1 out of 3.
Okay.
I don't know why. I want to be optimistic here and say 2 out of 3. I was going to go 2 out of 3. I really was. But I'm going to change it up a little bit and go 1 out of 3.
The good news is encouraging start for Brandon Woodruff.
Yep.
With the T-Rats last night. Trevor Gott pitched. Mike Brasso played. So that might be 3 guys that are pretty close. Because Woodruff also started, I think, Sunday.
Yep.
Last Sunday. So
I mean, it kind of lines
maybe
up.
For that road trip,
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, maybe that road trip. Maybe after this weekend they got Monday off. Maybe they join them on the road trip, going to Tampa and Pittsburgh next week.
I think I kind of counted as either like that last Tampa game, or maybe they say them for Pittsburgh to start that series. One of those games.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you have the because if you go, 4 days he could pitch Tuesday, 4 days he could pitch the Tuesday game. Maybe you give him the one more and you have him start that that early morning game.
Yeah. 11:10.
About as early as you're gonna get for a Brewer game this year.
Yep. Right at 11:10. So we'll get the grills going.
At the crack of noon.
Get the grills
Eastern
going
time,
right away. That'll be like supper time.
Think about that. You're gonna be able to go from listening to the show here almost right to the pregame.
Yep.
Like an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, because pregame starts 35 minutes before first pitch.
Yeah.
So it'll be 10:35.
Be jumping in on DP. That's all right though for Brewers baseball.
You're right. I didn't even realize it was that.
That's got to be the earliest start of the year
because they had a Pittsburgh at 11:35.
Yeah, you're not starting baseball outside of when Boston hosts the game the Monday of the marathon.
Yeah,
that's about as early as you're going to see a game. That game I think is always at like 10.
Yep. Yeah. I'm just kind of scrolling through the rest of their schedule.
Yeah, I don't think it gets earlier than that.
I'm kind of eyeing up maybe going to that Yankee series now in September.
Oh.
I just looked at the schedule there. I'm like,
third week?
Yeah. Right after that is the Mets. It's New York's coming to town.
New York. And that would be the week before the Badgers play Ohio State, I believe. Because I think their first 3 games are those first 3 Saturdays.
Actually, I don't think I can go that weekend.
Uh-oh.
Son of a gun.
You get a Packer game?
Oh, I wish. I think I got a work thing that weekend. The Dells. Darn it. We'll see. Maybe I can count it. All right. Well, next week, thanks to Surveyor, it kind of gave me this idea, Surveyor Sam. Because, we're I mean, you got baseball going on, Stanley Cups. Do you think, by the way, Stanley Cup prediction?
I think at this point, I think the Avs close it out. I mean, I picked them to win, but I also said I could go the distance. I mean, the Avs they've been something else to watch here.
Yeah, they could close it out tonight.
They could.
That's at Colorado too. So, yeah, I picked Tampa to win it, but I think at least they play tonight. If Tampa wins, they play Sunday. I think the Avs close it out in one of these.
Basically, yeah. By the next time you're on the radio after today, the Avs will be done.
Yep,
or the Avs will have won.
I agree. But back to what Surveyor. So for next week, we got like 4th of July week coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to create, based off the listener votes, the ultimate 4th of July feast.
Ooh, I like that.
So we're going to get
I like that a lot.
Yeah, we're going to get some debates. We're going to get some banters going out. We're going to create the ultimate 4th of July feast leading up to it because, well, next week is the last full week before July 4th.
And then maybe someone out there can replicate it.
Exactly.
You'll have the opportunity.
Exactly. So we're going to go like a couple meats, couple pasta salad, kind of sort of things. And then like the random salad, like whether it's beans, corn cob, whatever, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One each day. We'll be voting it
so
out.
With me being in next Friday, I'll be here for the final shebang.
Yep. And we'll have it all created on Friday.
Outstanding.
What it's going to be. So
outstanding.
Going to get some debate because it was a big debate on Wednesday about dips.
I saw you mention that the different dips.
And we had some great commentary from people out there.
By the way, the next time I'm in here, it's going to be July.
Yeah.
Which means
training camp starts in like 3 weeks after that.
No, but do we have an official day because it's in July? The Dandies.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking because we want to do it on a Friday.
We do.
Let's do it the 15th.
All
July
right.
15th.
Yeah. So right before. Yeah. Okay. So that's right before the Brewers close the first half. Because are you not next week? Are you still planning something that next week?
What do you mean that next week?
Did you have the talk of the possible like baseball draft thing?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So if that's that next week, because that next week's the All-Star break, so it's a little bit okay.
That'll be a good week.
All right. So Dandy's date revealed.
July 15th.
July 15th.
Done. Gives me plenty of time now.
There you go.
So I like it. Okay, yeah, Dandy's, and then we'll do the all-time baseball draft.
Next
week?
week?
Next week we got the ultimate feast.
A lot of stuff on deck here.
A lot of on draft. So we're gonna do 2 meets. So Monday we'll start it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we reveal the whole thing. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I'll be in here Friday. So
Yep. Okay, so I'll plan it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little debate going. But the one thing, really quick, wrap it up. Nachos. Is the cheese a sauce or a dip?
If you pour it on, it's a sauce.
But if you dip, it's a dip.
Yes.
Okay.
It's all about application.
All about application. I like that quote. Oh man, that's a great way to wrap it up right there. Just he takes off his headphones and he's done right now.
It's not getting better than that.
Nope. All right. So you got Brewers first pitch tonight, 7:10. 6:35 coverage will begin, then 3:10 on Saturday, then 1:10 on Sunday. Then off day for the Brew Crew coming up on Monday. Then you got Stanley Cup final tonight and possibly Sunday. DP and the Danitz are up next. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. We'll be doing this again on Monday, just past 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.